Chapter 193. Do you only know how to run? Lin Ju was exasperated because he couldn't keep up with his opponent's speed. Of course, he also knew in his heart that based on the speed that his opponent was displaying, if they were to fight head-on, he would most likely be no match for him. Speed also depended on true essence. The other party's speed was faster than his, which meant that the other party's true essence was thicker than his. Escape. Hearing Lin Ju's words, Zhou Dongwang immediately stopped in his tracks. Facing Lin Ju's ferocious attack, he casually blocked it. His expression was calm, and it was obvious that he did not feel any pressure. No matter how many times Lin Ju attacked, even using all his strength, Zhou Donghuang still managed to stop him. Lin Ju was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Where did this little bastard come from? He was clearly just a silver core cultivator. So why was his quintessential essence so powerful that it was even stronger than a golden core cultivator like him? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, who would dare believe that a golden core cultivator would be helpless against a silver core cultivator? Some of the Divine Light sect disciples laughed bitterly. Where did this young man come from? In the Ziyun planet, there is such a monster? Many people were shocked by Zhou Donghuang's strength. From the beginning to the end, he has only been defending and dodging. Up until now, he has not made a move against the Supreme Elder. What is the meaning of this? Are you disdainful? If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have noticed it. It seems like he really hasn't made a move against the Grand Elder. Soon, many people realized that Zhou Donghuang had not attacked Lin Ju. Father, big brother Donghuang, why isn't he making a move? Shen Yong could not help but ask Shen Yin. Before Shen Yin could speak, Tua Kong looked at Shen Yong in shock. Yong, call this Zhou Donghuang big brother? You know him? Tua Kong was dumbfounded. His grandson knew Zhou Donghuang? Father, we have only just met brother Donghuang. Shen Yin smiled awkwardly. Speaking of which, I was the one who brought him to the Divine Light sect. Father, I have not introduced you. This is brother Donghuang's sister, Lady Yunlu. As for this flying beast, it's little gold, brother Donghuang's. Just as Chen Yin introduced Yunlu to Tua Kong and was about to introduce the golden-crowned eagle to little gold, he realized that he did not know how to introduce it. Brother, I'm young master's brother. Little gold quickly helped Shen Yin. Tua Kong felt a little dizzy. Zhou Donghuang was brought to the Divine Light sect by his son. Wasn't this inviting a wolf into the house? Furthermore, Zhou Donghuang had only known his son for a short period of time, and he was already at ease leaving his sister by his son's side. Was he not afraid that the Divine Light sect would use his sister to threaten him? Thinking of this, Tua Kong glanced at the white figure in the distance and sighed in his heart. Maybe. He's not worried that we would use his sister to threaten him. Zhou Donghuang. Just as Lin Ju's expression grew uglier and uglier, a loud voice rang out from within the Divine Light peak, followed by the sound of 3 people breaking through the air. Everyone looked over and saw 2 old monks in golden robes flying side by side in the air. The leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, followed obediently behind them. It's the Right Guardian. The Right Guardian is here. The one beside the Right Protector. Could it be the Left Protector? Oh my God. Left Protector. It seems like you haven't appeared in front of people for many years, right? The people who had arrived were the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, the Right Guardian, C.I. Xian, and the Left Guardian, C.I. Yun. C.I. Yun looked even older than C.I. Xian. He was skinny and had a kind face. At first glance, he looked like an ordinary old monk who had 1 foot in the grave. However, the faint golden halo around his body revealed the fact that he was a powerful golden essence adept. Amidst the respectful cries of the Divine Light sect people, C.I. Yun, C.I. Xian, and Tua Jin finally arrived at the scene of the battle between Zhou Donghuang and Lin Ju. At this time, Lin Ju had already retreated to the side of C.I. Yun and the other 2, greeting C.I. Yun and C.I. Xian. As for Tua Jin, even though he was the leader, Lin Ju only nodded slightly at him. Instead, it was Tua Jin who bowed respectfully to Lin Ju. The one who had just called out Zhou Donghuang's name was C.I. Xian. Zhou Donghuang, I never thought that after 2 years, you would already have such power. Not a golden essence adept, but comparable to one, and not an ordinary golden essence adept. What a joke. An ordinary golden essence adept would be able to toy with a golden essence adept like Lin Ju. Since you're all here, all of you, come meet together. Zhou Dongwang ignored C.I. Xian's words. His gaze first fell on Lin Ju, then on C.I. Xian and C.I. Yun. The moment he opened his mouth, he directly challenged 3 golden essence adepts. As soon as Zhou Dongwang's voice fell, the entire place fell into a dead silence. No one could have imagined that Zhou Dongwang would say such a thing. He actually wanted to fight 3 golden essence adepts of the Divine Light sect alone. In an instant, the entire place was in an uproar. Crazy. He's crazy. Does he really think that just because he is stronger than Sect Grand Elder, he can fight 3 golden essence adepts of the Divine Light sect alone? Not to mention that C.I. Xian is already stronger than Sect Grand Elder. C.I. Yun is even stronger than C.I. Xian. I heard that he is not far from the Dharma stage. It was not only the elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect who were shocked by Zhou Donghuang's words. Even Tuo Kong and Chun Yin felt their scalps go numb. Was this Zhou Donghuang crazy? Although he could easily toy with Sect Grand Elder, the left guardian of the Divine Light sect, C.I. Yun, could do the same. Furthermore, it was the old C.I. Yun. The current C.I. Yun was definitely much stronger. After all, C.I. Yun was focused on breaking through to the Dharma stage. His improvement over the past few decades was definitely not something that Lin Ju could compare to. If only I could be like Big Brother Dongwang in the future. How great would that be? Qin Yang's eyes shone as he stared at the figure in the white robe. Now, he looked like a die-hard fan looking at his idol. Dream on. Yin Lu scoffed at Qin Yang's words. Big Brother is unique. No one can compare to him. Little Gold, Brother Dongwang, is getting ahead of himself. C.I. Yun of the Divine Light sect is no weaker than him. Why don't you go and stop him? Qin Yin said to Little Gold, they're just 3 old fellows with 1 foot in the grave. How can they be a match for my young master? Little Gold scoffed at Qin Yan's words and responded with blind confidence in Zhou Dongwang. Qin Yin was speechless. It looked like it was not only Yin Lu, but even this flying beast had been completely brainwashed by Brother Dongwang. At the same time, hearing Zhou Dongwang's words, Lin Ju's face darkened. C.I. Xian's face was filled with anger, and even the kind-looking C.I. Yun's eyes flashed with a cold light. Arrogant little brat. C.I. Yun flew out to face Zhou Dongwang. However, since you have asked for it, then we will grant you your wish, so that you will know that there is always someone better out there. The instant C.I. Yun's words left his mouth, C.I. Xian and Lin Ju simultaneously flew out and appeared beside C.I. Yun, one on the left and one on the right. I will give you 3 breaths of time to prepare your strongest attack. Zhou Dongwang ignored C.I. Yun's words and said lightly, otherwise, I am afraid that you will not be satisfied with your defeat. Arrogant. Now, even if C.I. Yun had a good temper, he was enraged. The golden robe on his body swelled, and the golden inner yuan that was originally like stars in the sky suddenly expanded, as if it had turned into a golden flame. C.I. Xian and Lin Ju were also enraged, and the golden inner yuan around them raged. At the same time, a 4-foot-long knife appeared in C.I. Yun's hand, and an exquisite hill appeared in C.I. Xian's hand. As for Lin Ju, he did not take out any weapons. To a primal core adept, other than a spirit weapon, any other weapon would only be a burden and would not be as useful as an inner yuan weapon. The 3 elders are angry. How can they not be angry? This Zhou Dongwang is too arrogant. I only hope that he has the ability to be arrogant. Otherwise, he may die here today. Most of the elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect did not think that Zhou Dongwang would be a match for the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect. On the planet of Ziyun, the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect were enough to defeat anyone. Attack. Following C.I. Yun's command, not only did he move, the inner yuan of the 4-foot-long knife in his hand surged, transforming into a sharp blade that swept toward Zhou Dongwang. Even C.I. Xian and Lin Ju followed closely. Buzz. Buzz, 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 buzz. CI Yun attacked, and the knife and sword followed him like a shadow, rushing towards Zhou Dongwang. Boom! Kaboom! CI Shin attacked, and the exquisite hill in his hand flew up into the sky, descending towards Zhou Donghuang's head. Swoosh! The inner yuan in Lin Ju's hand condensed into a sword, and the tip of the sword pierced through the air, heading straight for Zhou Donghuang's brow, as if he wanted to kill Zhou Donghuang in one blow. The three golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect attacked together. Whether it was CI Yun or CI Xian, they both used spirit weapons. Although Lin Ju did not use a spirit weapon, when he joined forces with CI Yun and CI Xian, he was able to use 120% of his power, which was completely different from before. He had used his full power. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Everyone present stared unblinkingly at the scene in front of them, regardless of whether they could see the movements of the three golden essence adepts clearly or not. The former watched the technique, the latter watched the show. If he can block the combined attack of the three elders, as long as there is no Dharma adept on the planet of Ziyun, he will always be the top martial artist on the planet of Ziyun. Although he felt that the sudden thought in his mind was a little crazy, Chunyin could not help but look forward to it. This was also what Chunyin was thinking, and the others of the Divine Light sect did not know. Otherwise, their spittle would drown Chunyan's saliva. You, Chunyin, are the 12th elder of the Divine Light sect. Is it really okay for you to do this? Your father is the 6th elder of the Divine Light sect. Is it really okay for you to do this? And your son is also protected by the Divine Light sect. Is it really okay for you to do this? End of chapter. Chapter 194. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Facing the three golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect, a folding fan appeared in Zhou Donghuang's hand. It was the spirit weapon that he had just taken out from his space ring. Furthermore, it was an ultimate primal core spirit weapon. It was also the most powerful spirit weapon among all the primal core spirit weapons. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang raised his hand and waved the folding fan in his hand. His speed was neither fast nor slow, and the elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect were speechless. Was this guy trying to use this to fight against the three golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect? Now, anyone with a discerning eye could see that the three golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect had no intention of holding back. After all, the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect had just been defeated by the other party. Facing such a person, if they held back, it was very likely that they would give the other party an opportunity to take advantage of them, and they might even be doomed. However, in the next moment, they were so shocked that their eyes widened. They saw that when the folding fan in Zhou Donghuang's hand was fanned to the extreme, a vast, unparalleled silver inner yuan suddenly appeared. This silver inner yuan was majestic and vast, like silver seawater, stirring up huge waves as it swept towards the three golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect. Most importantly, this silver inner yuan not only looked vast and majestic, but the aura it emitted was also very condensed, and it did not seem like it was intentionally dispersed. An ordinary silver essence adept could disperse his inner yuan to this extent. However, after the inner yuan was dispersed to this extent, even an early primal core adept would be able to remain unscathed under the cover of this inner yuan. However, now that Zhou Donghuang was fanning, the density of the silver inner yuan that swept out was so high that it was no weaker than the inner yuan of a silver essence adept at its maximum. Whoosh! Whoosh! The silver inner yuan seemed to cover the sky as it swept out with awe-inspiring power, as if thousands of soldiers and horses were galloping past, menacing. On the other side, three golden inner yuan flew over like meteors, but they seemed to pale in comparison. Three golden essence adepts. As the silver inner yuan rolled out and engulfed the three elders of the Divine Light sect, the corners of Zhou Donghuang's mouth curled up in a playful smile. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the three golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect finally met the silver inner yuan head-on. It was fine before they got close, but once they got close, their expressions changed drastically. How could he have so much true essence? Such dense spiritual essence is comparable to the spiritual essence of more than 6 silver core cultivators working together, right? Faced with 6 silver essence adepts, the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect were naturally not afraid. They could completely defeat them one by one. However, if a person possessed the true essence of 6 silver core cultivators, the combat power they could display was not something 6 silver core cultivators could compare to. In fact, even if 16 silver core cultivators joined forces, they would not be able to match up to this person's combat power. The next moment, the crowd of elders and disciples of the Divine Light sect saw a scene that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. Although the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect had their golden inner yuan bursting forth from head to toe, shining with a golden light, in front of the silver inner yuan that was like a rolling wave, they seemed very small. How dare a grain of rice compete with the moon? Zhou Donghuang's calm words reached the ears of everyone present as the silver inner yuan swept out to meet the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect. The sound was not loud, but it shocked everyone. Bang! The left guardian of the Divine Light sect, Ci Yun, was the first to bear the brunt of the attack, but in the face of the silver inner yuan, he was sent flying the moment he touched it. It was like a small soldier in light armor being sent flying by the charge of a heavily armored cavalry. Puffed! A mouthful of fresh blood spurted from Ci Yun's mouth as he was sent flying. It was dazzling and piercing to the eyes. Bang! Following closely, the right guardian of the Divine Light sect, Ci Xian, also followed in Ci Yun's footsteps. Not only was the exquisite hill spirit weapon that he had thrown out sent flying, but he himself was also sent flying. Wah! Blood splattered across the sky like red roses falling from the sky. Just as the people of the Divine Light sect thought that their Grand Elder would also follow in the footsteps of the left and right guardians, a cold snort rang out in their ears. In the next moment, many people saw it. The young man in white who was holding a folding fan suddenly shook the folding fan in his hand. In an instant, the silver inner yuan, which was like a raging wave, suddenly retracted and pulled, directly splitting into 2 parts. One part quickly circled to the back of the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Zhu, and attacked him from the front and back. No! Lin Zhu's old voice rang out in that instant, his voice filled with despair and indignation. And this was the last thing that Lin Zhu would say in this world. Boom! Kaboom! The silver inner yuan collided with each other, and Lin Zhu's entire body was compressed infinitely, finally exploding into a mist of blood, leaving only a space ring that slowly fell to the ground. The space stone that was used to make the space ring was a very special kind of ore. It was difficult for inner yuan to destroy it, and it could not even change its shape. However, it was not difficult for the samadhi fire, which was formed from the inner yuan, to melt it and shape it into various shapes, but it was also extremely difficult to destroy it. On the 22nd of July, 1233 of the Ziyun era, Zhou Donghuang defeated the 2 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect and killed the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Zhu. After this battle, the whole place was dead silent. Gulp! Chun Yin, the 12th elder of the Divine Light sect who had invited the wolf into the house, swallowed hard, his eyes round and wide, almost popping out of his head in shock. He had originally thought that his idea, just now, was already considered crazy, thinking that as long as the young man in front of him could block the combined attack of the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect, he would be able to reach the top of the martial way of Ziyun. It was only at this moment that he realized he had underestimated the young man. The young man had only casually waved the fan in his hand and defeated the 2 golden essence guardians of the Divine Light sect. If he had waved the fan again, he would have crushed the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect. Absolutely crushed. Crushed as easily as stepping on an ant. Unsurprisingly, when a group of people from the Divine Light sect recovered from their shock, including the Divine Light sect leader Tuo Jin, they could not help but gasp. When the group of people once again looked at the young man dressed in white, there was only fear in their eyes. There was no other emotion. What kind of demon is this? The late primal core stage is already so nature-defying? He has not even entered the golden essence stage, but he is already so nature-defying. When he enters the golden essence stage, I'm afraid even a Dharma adept will not be a match for him, right? On the planet of Ziyun, as long as there is no Dharma adept, I'm afraid he will be the top martial artist on the planet of Ziyun, enough to dominate everything. The scene that had just happened was destined to be unforgettable for the primal core adepts of the Divine Light sect. Is there anyone else who wants to avenge Lin Hantian? Zhou Dongwang stood in the air, the fan in his hand gently waving in front of him. His gaze swept across the people of the Divine Light sect. Of course, those who want to avenge the 3 people I just killed can also step forward and avenge them. Faced with Zhou Donghuang's question, the whole place was silent. Many people were secretly cursing Zhou Donghuang for asking the obvious. You can even crush the 3 strongest golden essence adepts of the Divine Light sect. Who would dare to provoke you? Brother. Yin Lu's eyes shone. Although she had confidence in her brother, she did not expect him to be able to crush the 3 golden essence adepts so cleanly. Young master, has he become so strong? The golden-crowned eagle Little Gold swallowed hard. Based on his understanding of his young master, he would never do anything he was not confident of, so he was confident that his young master could handle the 3 golden essence adepts of the Divine Light sect. However, even though he could handle them, he did not expect his young master to have such terrifying power. He could see it. Just now, if his young master had not shown mercy, not only would the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect have died, but the 2 Divine Light sect guardians would also have died. Thank you for showing mercy, sir. After the left guardian of the Divine Light sect, Ci Yun, caught his breath, even though he had lived for almost 300 years. When he looked at the young man again, he could not help but tremble in fear. At the same time, he hurriedly bowed to the young man to thank him. At the same time, the corner of his mouth turned up in a bitter smile. He, Ci Yun, had been a genius disciple of the Divine Light sect since he was young, but after practicing for almost 300 years, in the end, he could not even be compared to a young man in his early 20s. Someone like him, and he still wanted to enter the Dharma stage? What a fool's dream. What a fool's dream. And at this moment, Ci Yun's rock-solid heart of martial arts began to crack, and there was no possibility of him ever entering the Dharma stage. Thank you for showing mercy. After Ci Xian regained his composure, he smiled bitterly and bowed to the young man to thank him. He had originally thought that he had overestimated the young man. He did not expect that not only had he not overestimated him, the young man was even scarier than he had imagined. Apart from the elders, the rest of you, please go back. At the same time, the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tu Jin, gave the order in a clear voice. As he spoke, the group of early primal core disciples of the Divine Light sect all left. As they left, they all heaved a sigh of relief. It was better not to face such a frightening person if they could avoid him. Although the young man had killed the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Ju, from the fact that he had shown mercy to the 2 guardians of the Divine Light sect, it was obvious that the young man was not as powerful as him. Thank you for showing mercy. After Ci Xian regained his composure, he also smiled bitterly and bowed to the young man to thank him. He had originally thought that he had overestimated the young man. He did not expect that not only had he not overestimated him, the young man was even more frightening than he had imagined. Apart from the elders, the rest of you, please go back. At the same time, the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tu Jin, gave the order in a clear voice. As he spoke, the group of early primal core disciples of the Divine Light sect all left. As they left, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Such a frightening person. If they could avoid facing him, it was better not to. Although the other party had killed the Grand Elder of the Divine Light sect, Lin Ju, from the fact that the other party had shown mercy to the 2 Divine Light sect guardians, it was obvious that the other party had shown mercy. Baidu search for the UC Book League website to let you experience the latest and fastest chapters. all of which were updated in seconds. Chapter 195. As the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tuo Jin was far more meticulous than the average person. If the young man in front of him had only come to kill those who wanted to avenge Lin Han Tian, he would have killed Lin Ju long ago after he had killed the two disciples of Lin Ju. Why bother with Lin Ju? With his strength, killing Lin Ju would have been a piece of cake. However, he had waited until the other two golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect had arrived before he had appeared, and he had wanted to fight one against three, and in the end, he had only killed Lin Ju. What did this mean? It meant that the young man had intended to fight the three golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect in front of them, completely to intimidate the Divine Light sect. The young man was definitely not just here to kill them. Sir, you have come to the Divine Light sect, not just to see who wants to avenge Lin Han Tian, right? Hearing their leader's question to Zhou Dongwang, the group of senior members of the Divine Light sect present, including the left and right guardians of the Divine Light sect, all turned to look at Zhou Dongwang. Zhou Dongwang nodded lightly in response to Tuo Jin's question. To see who wants to avenge Lin Han Tian was just a spur-of-the-moment idea. I have come to the Divine Light sect today to discuss something with you, said Zhou Dongwang. Zhou Dongwang said directly, Dare I ask what it is? Seeing the strength of the young man in front of him, Tuo Jin did not dare to put on airs, but instead lowered his stance and asked respectfully. The Divine Light sect will move away from this spirit stone load. I want this place. Zhou Dongwang said lightly. The Xinguang Peak, where the Xinguang sect was based, was the location of the largest spirit stone vein on the planet of Ziyun. It was precisely because of this that the founder of the Xinguang sect had chosen to establish his sect here and establish his sect. This time, Zhou Dongwang had come to the Divine Light sect to ask for this Xinguang Peak. Before leaving the planet of Ziyun, he wanted to find the best place for his family to live, and Xinguang Peak was obviously the best place to do so. Following Zhou Dongwang's words, the entire place fell silent again. After a while, Tuo Jin regained his senses and looked angrily at Zhou Dongwang. In a trembling voice, he asked, Sir, you must be joking? I, Zhou Dongwang, have no interest in joking with you. Zhou Dongwang spoke again, and his gaze sharpened in an instant. This was proof of his determination. In that instant, everyone, including Tuo Jin, the leader of the Divine Light sect, and the sixth elder of the Divine Light sect, Tuo Kong, and the 12th elder of the Divine Light sect, turned pale. The young man in front of them actually wanted the entire Divine Light sect to move away from the Divine Light Peak and give up the Divine Light Peak, where the Divine Light sect had been established for 1,000 years. To him, Luoha Galaxy, planet Tianxian. Grandma, Father, there's no need to send us off. In the air above the Luo clan residence, a beautiful young woman in a long dress stood beside an ordinary-looking woman in black robes. She had a cold expression, and she was speaking to an old woman and a middle-aged man. The old woman was dressed in a loose green robe, and she was skinny. As she looked at the young lady, her eyes were filled with reluctance. Her mouth moved a few times as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she did not. Qinghan, be careful out there. Don't be careless. The middle-aged man was dressed in a long silver robe. His face was like jade, and he was handsome and elegant. He was the current leader of the Luo family, Luo Wuchen. Grandma, Father, once I enter the sect and familiarize myself with the environment, I will find some time to come back. Luo Qinghan nodded at the old woman and the middle-aged man, then turned to the woman beside her and said respectfully, Senior, I can leave now. The woman nodded, then brought Luo Qinghan and the others behind her and flew out of the Luo family household. Luo Qinghan did not turn back. She was afraid that if she turned back and saw her grandma, she would regret her decision and stay. However, if she stayed on the Tianxian planet, her future training would be limited and she would not be able to go further. A year ago, a group of adepts from a galaxy called the Honglio Galaxy descended on the Tianxian planet. They claimed to be from the Honglio Galaxy, and they represented the top sects of the Honglio Galaxy in recruiting disciples. They were recruiting disciples for the top sects of the Honglio Galaxy, and they had only one requirement: an ultimate primal core adept who was less than 30 years old, or a late primal core adept who was less than 25 years old. Of course, everything was voluntary. As long as one met the requirements, one could sign up voluntarily, and when it was time to leave, someone would personally come to take them away to the Hungleo galaxy. The Tianxian planet is too small, and the Luoha galaxy is too small. The Tianxian planet had not produced a primordial soul adept for 1,000 years, and the Tianxian planet was one of the most resource-rich planets in the Luoha galaxy. If one did not leave the Luoha galaxy, even if one was talented, it would be difficult to enter the primordial soul stage and become a primordial soul adept. Now, although there were primordial soul adepts in the Luoha galaxy, they were extremely rare. And in the Hungleo galaxy, ordinary primordial soul adepts were as common as dogs, and stronger primordial soul adepts were everywhere, and there were even quite a few top primordial soul adepts. In the top sects of the Hungleo galaxy, ordinary primordial soul adepts could not even become elders. And in the Luoha galaxy, even the most ordinary primordial soul adept was a leader, high above the rest of the galaxy. Precisely because of this, Luo Qinghan wanted to use this opportunity to leave the Luoha galaxy while she was still young. The woman who had received Luo Qinghan and the others was only one of the group of adepts from the Hungleo galaxy. There were many others who had also received many others. Yuan Zheng. After the woman had brought Luo Qinghan and the others to meet up with the other adepts from the Hungleo galaxy, Luo Qinghan saw a familiar figure behind a middle-aged man dressed in a Taoist robe. The young leader of the Yunzhou sect, Yuan Zheng. Previously, her close friend, He Meng, had drugged her with the intention of selling her to this Yuan Zheng. Luckily, she had managed to escape, or else her entire life would have been ruined by this person. Therefore, now that she saw Yuan Zheng, Luo Qinghan's face was instantly covered with a layer of frost, and a murderous look flashed in the depths of her eyes. When Luo Qinghan saw Yuan Zheng also noticed her. His eyes lit up, and he took the initiative to approach her. "Miss Luo, are you also planning to go to the Hungleo galaxy?" However, Luo Qinghan completely ignored Yuan Zheng. Although she was confident that her current abilities were no weaker than Yuan Zheng's, it was still extremely difficult for her to kill him. Furthermore, even if she had the ability to kill Yuan Zheng now, she could not do it. Once she did, the group of adepts from the Hungleo galaxy would definitely see it as a provocation, and the consequences would be dire. The only thing she could do now was to ignore Yuan Zheng. In the future, when she became stronger and surpassed Yuan Zheng, it would not be too late to find a chance to take revenge. "Miss Luo, although there are not many top sects in the Hungleo galaxy, there are still quite a few. Why don't we join the same sect? That way, we can also take care of each other. Isn't that perfect?" Seeing that Luo Qinghan was ignoring him, Yuan Zheng was not only not angry, but instead seemed to be used to it, smiling and licking his lips. Scram! Luo Qinghan frowned and glanced coldly at Yuan Zheng. She spat out a single word, her voice loud and loud, attracting the attention of many. No matter how thick-skinned Yuan Zheng was, he could not help but change his expression when faced with the mocking gazes of a group of people. He looked at Luo Qinghan with a cold look, making Luo Qinghan feel as if she was being stared at by a poisonous snake. "Since Miss Luo does not wish to be disturbed, I shall not disturb you." On the surface, Yuan Zheng was still smiling, as if he could adapt to circumstances and did not take Luo Qinghan's overreaction to heart at all. Of course, this was only on the surface. In his heart, however, Yuan Zheng was secretly cursing, "Luo Qinghan, you better pray that you do not fall into my hands, otherwise I will definitely have you first before killing you. Let's go." Very quickly, the group of people met up and left the Tianxian planet, left the Luoha galaxy, and headed towards the Hungleo galaxy. Of course, when they left, they did not use their physical bodies to cross the galaxy. First, they used the teleporter to be transported to a planet on the edge of the Luoha galaxy, then boarded a spaceship that looked like a large ship. Using the spaceship as a means of transportation, they left the Luoha galaxy at an extremely fast speed and headed towards the Hungleo galaxy. Due to the limitations of the person who had set up the teleporter in the Loaha galaxy, it could only be used to transport between planets within the Loaha galaxy. If one wanted to leave the Loaha galaxy and head to another galaxy, they could only use the indiscriminate teleporter, but that way, no one would know which galaxy they would be transported to. The Tianxian planet. In the boundless galaxy, Luo Qinghan stood on the spaceship, looking at the planet on the edge of the Loaha galaxy that was gradually getting further and further away, finally turning into a small dot of light. Her eyes could not help but reveal a look of reluctance. In all her life, this was the first time she had left the Tianxian planet and left the Loaha galaxy for a long journey. As for the indiscriminate teleportation to the planet called Zunich a few years ago, it was a complete accident, and to her, it could not be considered a long journey. Just as the spaceship left the Loaha galaxy, as Luo Qinghan looked away, she could not help but think of a figure. A handsome young man dressed in robes whiter than snow, with an extraordinary aura. The young man who had appeared in her dreams many times in the past, once again appeared in her mind without any warning. Based on his age and level of cultivation, even in the Xian planet, he was destined to be mediocre. Now, he probably has a wife and children, living an ordinary and satisfied life. Luo Qinghan thought to herself. Even she did not know why. Every time she thought of this, she would feel an inexplicable sense of loss, and it was very strong. It was as if she had lost something very important. Taking a deep breath, Luo Qinghan tried to divert her attention. I wonder, what kind of sect will I join when I reach the Hunglio galaxy? Chapter 196. The Ziyun Grand Banquet was a grand banquet that had been passed down for 700 years. It was a grand banquet that belonged to the entire Ziyun planet, with the 5 main sects as the main characters. Every 20 years, the Ziyun Grand Banquet will be held by the 5 main sects in turn. 100 years was a cycle. In other words, every sect would hold a Ziyun Grand Banquet every 100 years. This year, in the year 1233 of the Ziyun era, it was the turn of the Xianin sect, one of the 5 main sects, to hold the Ziyun Grand Banquet. At that time, the leaders of the other 4 main sects would bring some disciples to the Xianin sect to participate in the Ziyun Grand Banquet. The date of the Ziyun Grand Banquet was set on the 10th of October, with the meaning of perfection. 700 years ago, the 5 main sects of the Ziyun planet, including the Xianin sect, had already found a place near the sect to hold the Ziyun Grand Banquet. However, even though the place was ready-made, it still had to be set up a year in advance, or else it would be too late. Since the end of last year, the Xianin sect leader had ordered to start setting up the venue for the Ziyun Grand Banquet. Thus, a group of Xianin sect elders and disciples had been busy since the end of last year. The Xianin sect's venue for the Ziyun Grand Banquet was a vast city. In the center of the city, there was a large empty space for the 5 main sects to use for the Ziyun Grand Banquet. Within the city, there was another ring of buildings. Without exception, these buildings were all inns that belonged to the Xianin sect. The area between the inns and the empty space in the center of the city was the city's free trade market. 10 days before the Ziyun Grand Banquet, this city would be open to the public. At that time, many people would come to trade for what they wanted before the Ziyun Grand Banquet began. The city where the Xianin sect held the Ziyun Grand Banquet was named Xianyin City. The first word was taken from the Xianin sect's name, and the second word was taken from the Ziyun Grand Banquet's name, Yan. This Xianyin City will open in 15 minutes. On the morning of the 30th of September, 1233 of the Ziyun era, the sun had just risen from the east. Many people were already standing outside the 4 gates of Xianyin City, which was located between the Xianin sect and the Xianin kingdom. Besides the many people standing outside the 4 city gates, there were also many people standing in the air above the city walls. Most of them were standing or sitting on the backs of flying beasts, and there were also some primal core adepts standing in the air. However, before Xianyin City was officially opened, no one dared to fly into Xianyin City, not even a group of primal core adepts. This was because at this moment, there were many people standing in the air above the surrounding walls of Xianyin City. These were the Xianyin sect elders and disciples who had been sent to maintain order in Xianyin City. There was no lack of mid-primal core adepts among them. With the deterrence of these elders and disciples of the Xianyin sect, no one dared to act recklessly. Old Manly, you're here too? If I had told you that you were coming, I would have come with you. This journey from the Thousand Autumns Empire has been really boring. In the void outside Xianyin City, an old man surrounded by pale white mist said to another old man standing in the air not far away. You didn't ask me. The latter shook his head. These two old men were both from the Thousand Autumns Empire. They were old acquaintances and were both early primal core adepts. The Thousand Autumns Empire was an empire under the Thousand Autumns sect, one of the 5 great sects of the planet of Ziyun. It was very far from the Xianyin Empire, and there was also the Xinguang Empire between them. These two old men had traveled thousands of miles just to join in on the excitement of the Feast of Ziyun. For the Feast of Ziyun, apart from the inner area, which could not be entered by people who were not members of the 5 main sects of the planet of Ziyun, the outer area did not restrict spectators. As such, every time the Feast of Ziyun was held, there would be crowds of people from all over the planet of Ziyun. In the planet of Ziyun, there were many people who were proud of being able to witness the Feast of Ziyun once in their lifetime. It's open. After a quarter of an hour, many people exclaimed as the 4 city gates of Xianyin City slowly opened. In the next moment, the group of people outside instantly flowed into Xianyin City like a river. From afar, it looked as if a group of ants had voluntarily sent themselves into the bloody mouth of a giant beast. The people who entered Xianyin City came from all over the planet of Ziyun. There were people from the 5 great empires, and there were also some outsiders. The so-called outsiders referred to those who were not in the 5 great empires or practicing in the 5 great sections. They could be non-affiliated practitioners, or they could have families or sects outside of the planet. For example, the 16 countries of the East Valley and the 14 countries of southern Jiang near the Xinguang Empire belonged to the outsiders. As for the people inside, they belonged to the category of people who were not part of the world. Generally speaking, outsiders generally had low levels of practice because of the lack of resources. However, there were a few exceptions, and these people were basically people who had great encounters and opportunities. Young Master, Xianyin City should be in front. In the south of Xianyin City, above the clouds, a huge black shadow broke through the clouds and swooped down. In the blink of an eye, it was near Xianyin City. This huge black shadow was actually a huge black eagle with a blazing golden crown on its head. It looked majestic and awe-inspiring, and on its back sat a handsome young man dressed in clothes whiter than snow. In front of the young man, a little girl of about 8 or 9 years old sat on his lap. She pointed at Xianyin City. Big brother, Xianyin City seems to have opened. Great, we don't have to wait anymore. The little girl's pink face was filled with excitement. The young man in white was Zhou Dong Wang, who had come from the Xinguang Empire. Seeing his sister Yin Lu so happy, the corners of his mouth turned up in a rare smile. Little Gold, go and find an inn to stay in, Zhou Dong Wang said to the golden-crowned eagle. Yes, young master. Little Gold responded, and with a flap of his wings, he turned into a bolt of lightning and flew into Xianyin City. Xianyin City was much smaller than the capital of the Xinguang Empire, but from a bird's-eye view, it was filled with people. It was no less than the number of people shuttling through the capital of the Xinguang Empire. The inns in Xianyin City were under the control of the Xianyin sect. Different rooms had different prices. The best courtyards did not even accept gold or silver, only spirit stones. 1 spirit stone per night. From the opening of Xianyin City until the end of the Feast of Ziyun, a total of 10 nights, would cost 10 spirit stones. It must be noted that even among the top 5 sects of Ziyun, only adepts who had attained the primal core stage were qualified to receive spirit stones from the sections. But early primal core adepts could only receive 1 spirit stone per month. Even for the middle primal core stage elders, although they received more spirit stones every month, they could only receive 3 spirit stones per month. Because of this, very few people could afford to stay in the best courtyards of the inns in Xianyin City. Even if they could afford it, few could bear to do so. Before the Feast of Ziyun began, besides the Xianyin sect, the guests from the other 4 sects of Ziyun were all staying at the Xianyin sect. Under such circumstances, the best courtyards of the inns in Xianyin City were usually left empty. 100 years ago, the inn in Xianyin City had a total of 5 best guest rooms, but they were all unused. This time, the people of the Xianyin sect further reduced the number of best guest rooms in Xianyin City, leaving only 3. The elders and disciples of the Xianyin sect who were in charge of the inns had thought that even though there were only 3 best courtyards left, no one would stay in them. However, they did not expect that on the first day of Xianyin City's opening, someone would already be staying in one of the best guest rooms. Wow, brother, this courtyard is huge. The people who stayed in the best courtyard of the inns in Xianyin City were Zhou Dongwang, Yun Lu, and the golden-crowned eagle Little Gold. The entire courtyard was Little Gold's bed. As for Zhou Dongwang and Yun Lu, they each had a room, and there were only 2 rooms in the courtyard. There was no third room, even if they wanted to. 1 spirit stone per night in the courtyard, and there are only 2 rooms in it. The Xianyin sect is really unscrupulous. Little Gold spoke in a human language and cursed. The fewer the rooms, the fewer the people staying in it. If it was a group of 4 people who could not sleep in the same room and want to stay in the best courtyard, unless they used the sky as their tent and the ground as their bed, or if they set up their own tents, they would have to ask the inns for 2 courtyards. This way, the inns could earn twice as much money. Brother, are we going out now? Yin Lu looked at Zhou Dongwang expectantly. Zhou Dongwang nodded. He had come to Xianyin City so early because of the free trade market in Xianyin City. 10 days before the Feast of Ziyun, people from all over the Ziyun planet were doing business in the free trade market in Xianyin City. Zhou Dongwang had come early to see if there was anything he wanted that even the Divine Light sect did not have in Xianyin City's free trade market. Of course, this was only the secondary purpose of his visit. This time, his main purpose was to resolve the possible threat from Chindandan. After all, he would be leaving the Ziyun planet soon, and he could not leave behind such a threat to his family. He could have gone directly to the Xianyin sect. However, after knowing that the Feast of Ziyun was about to begin, he was no longer in a hurry. This was because resolving Chun Dandan's problem at the Feast of Ziyun was far more effective than going directly to the Xianyin sect. At that time, not only would the Xianyin sect be able to see it, but the other 4 major sects of the Ziyun planet would also be able to see it. Furthermore, people from all over the Ziyun planet would also be able to see it. If he made a move at the Xianyin sect, he would at most be able to intimidate the Xianyin sect. However, if he made a move at the Feast of Ziyun, he would be able to intimidate the entire Ziyun planet. He would not have to worry about anyone daring to cause trouble for his family after he left the Ziyun planet. Chapter 197. The Feast of Ziyun was the highlight of the festivities for the people from all over the planet of Ziyun. They could not afford to miss it, so they had to come early. While they waited, the free market in Xianyin City became a place for them to kill time. Some people had rare treasures that they could sell to the people of Ziyun. If they met a suitable buyer, they could sell it for a good price. Brother, does this look good? Brother, I want this. Brother, this looks good too. In Xianyin City's free trade market, a little girl of about 8 or 9 years old walked past the various stalls. As long as she was interested in something, the young man in white behind her would not be stingy and buy it all for her. This scene caused many people to shake their heads. They felt that this young man was not a good brother and would spoil his little sister sooner or later. There were also many stall owners who could not wait for the little girl to take a liking to the things in their stalls. Along the way, the young man's extravagance attracted the attention of many people, but no one dared to do anything because there were people from the Xianyin sect maintaining order in Xianyin City. Unless they left the city, no matter how jealous they were of the young man's wealth, they could not do anything about it. Hey, old man, your broken sword looks like an antique, and it's quite unique. How much is it? A voice came from the front, causing Yin Lu to stop and look curiously. Zhou Dongwang, who was following behind Yin Lu, also stopped and looked in the direction of Yin Lu's gaze. With just a glance, he saw an old man in a gray robe sitting cross-legged behind a stall, and a broken sword was placed horizontally on top of his stall. The broken sword was only 1 foot long, and the hilt was intact, but the blade was broken off. Although the broken sword had not rusted, it still looked ancient. Upon closer inspection, one could see that on the surface of the broken sword, there were many intricate patterns. 100 spirit stones. The old man had been resting with his eyes closed, but hearing the question, he suddenly opened his eyes and glanced at the middle-aged man in front of the stall. As soon as he said this, not only was the middle-aged man stunned, but even the group of people who had been paying attention were shocked. 100 spirit stones? Even the late primal core elders of the 5 great sects of Ziyun did not receive so many spirit stones from their sects in a year. Is this old man crazy? A broken sword like this for 100 spirit stones. He's going crazy thinking about spirit stones. As soon as the old man finished speaking, before the middle-aged man in front of the stall could say anything, many people surrounded him and attacked the old man. Oof. Facing the attacks of the crowd, the old man's eyes turned cold. Suddenly, a faint white halo appeared around his body and lifted him up into the air. He sat cross-legged in the air. Seeing this, the group of people who were still criticizing the old man shut their mouths one after another, not daring to say another word. Oh my God, this old man was actually a primal core adept? The middle-aged man in front of the stall had originally intended to mock the old man, but upon seeing the old man display the skills of a primal core adept, his expression changed, and he immediately shut his mouth tightly, not daring to utter another word. Who? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the old man raised his hand, and a wisp of inner yuan flew out and picked up the broken sword from the stall. It floated in the air in front of him. I obtained this broken sword by chance, and it is not afraid of the true samadhi fire. As the old man spoke, his inner yuan condensed into the true samadhi fire, which wrapped around the broken sword. But as time passed, not only did the broken sword not show any signs of melting, but it even maintained its previous dark green color, showing no signs of being burned red. Not only is it not afraid of the true samadhi fire, even if I use the true samadhi fire to burn it continuously for 3 days and 3 nights, its blade and hilt would still be bone-chillingly cold and would not be heated in the slightest. The old man continued. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man closed his eyes again and retracted the true samadhi fire. His whole body slowly descended to the ground, and he sat cross-legged again. And the broken sword also landed on top of the stall at the right time. Not afraid of the true samadhi fire? Even a spirit weapon can be melted by the true samadhi fire, right? What exactly is this broken sword? The spirit weapons used by primal core adepts are primal core spirit weapons, but even an ultimate primal core spirit weapon can be melted by the true samadhi fire of an early primal core adept. Could this broken sword be a Dharma spirit weapon? Dharma spirit weapon. Dharma spirit weapons are spirit weapons used by Dharma adepts, and they require the true samadhi fire of the Dharma adept's inner yuan to be able to melt them. The people present had come from all over the Ziyun planet, and there was no lack of knowledgeable people among them. From their conversations, it seemed like they suspected that the broken sword was a Dharma spirit weapon. If it is a Dharma spirit weapon, even if it is broken, 100 spirit stones is not considered expensive. That's true. Although many people suspected that the broken sword was a Dharma spirit weapon and felt that 100 spirit stones was not expensive, no one stepped forward and took out 100 spirit stones to buy the broken sword. Firstly, it was because no one present could produce that many spirit stones. Secondly, it was all just speculation. Even if there were people present who could produce that many spirit stones, they might not have the courage to do so. This sword, I want it. Just as more and more people gathered to watch, a young man dressed in robes whiter than snow appeared in front of the stall, attracting the attention of the crowd. The old man opened his eyes again and looked at Zhou Dongwang. 100 spirit stones. Zhou Dongwang did not speak. In front of the crowd, he took out 100 spirit stones from the space ring in his hand and casually sent them to the old man in the air. The milky white inner yuan was reflected in the eyes of the crowd, continuously attacking their pupils and their hearts. Just now, when this young man, who looked no more than 20 years old, had stood up and said that he wanted to buy the broken sword. The crowd had thought that he was joking. 100 spirit stones was not something that an impulsive young man could produce. However, when a young man really took out 100 spirit stones and sent them to the old man with a milky white inner yuan, the doubts in their hearts were instantly shattered. Mid-primal core adept? My God, if his age is really what he looks like, his martial arts talent can be said to be extraordinary. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the owner of the stall, the old man, was stunned for a moment before regaining his senses. He took the 100 spirit stones and kept them in his pocket. "Thank you, my lord." The old man stood up and bowed to the young man to thank him. On the planet of Ziyun, where the strong were respected, the strong were respected. Even though the young man in front of him looked no more than 20 years old, the level of practice that he had displayed was enough to make the old man bow. Zhou Dongwang nodded slightly. With a wave of his hand, his inner yuan wrapped around the broken sword and brought it to his hand. Then he stored it in his space ring. The broken sword, just as the few people present had guessed, was indeed a Dharma spirit weapon used by Dharma adepts. However, it was not an ordinary Dharma spirit weapon. It was an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon. Even though the inscriptions on it were incomplete, according to Zhou Donghuang's calculations, it was still enough to unleash the power of a mid-grade Dharma spirit weapon. When I enter the Dharma stage, I can use my inner yuan to condense the fourth true fire, reforge it, and rearrange the inscriptions. Then, it will be able to unleash the power of an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon. Zhou Dongwang thought to himself. Under the silent gazes of the crowd, the young man dressed in white slowly walked away into the distance. The little girl beside him also skipped happily as she followed him. Looking at the backs of the young man and the little girl, many people felt a lingering fear in their hearts. He's actually a primal core adept? My God, just now when I saw him spending so much money to buy things for that little girl, I got greedy. If not for the fact that the Xianyin sect was maintaining order in Xinyan City, I would have robbed him long ago. Me too. Now that I think about it, I really saved my life. Zhu Yinxing was a disciple of the Xianyin sect. His level of practice was at the early primal core stage, but because he was not even 50 years old, his treatment in the Xianyin sect was no less than that of an ordinary elder. Most importantly, his teacher was the second elder of the Xianyin sect, a late primal core adept. His teacher was also one of the 2 golden essence elders of the Xianyin sect. In the Xianyin sect, Zhu Yinxing was like a member of the Crown Prince faction. The group of elders in the Xianyin sect, whether they were of the mid or late primal core stage, did not dare to provoke him lightly. Dharma spirit weapon? A mid-primal core adept. Zhu Yinxing had seen everything that had just happened. His eyes flashed, and he silently followed the young man in white. Although he felt that his movements were silent, Zhou Dongwang had already noticed him. However, Zhou Dongwang did not care about him, because he was lazy, and because he did not care. It was only when he saw the young man bring the little girl back to the inn that Zhu Yinxing stopped and turned to leave Xinyan City, returning to the Xianyin sect. "Teacher, I saw a young man in Xinyan City spend 100 spirit stones to buy a seemingly damaged Dharma spirit weapon." After Zhu Yinxing returned to the Xianyin sect, he found his teacher, the second elder of the Xianyin sect, Li Pingzhi. Dharma spirit weapon? Li Pingzhi was an old man in a loose black robe. His face was full of wrinkles, and his body exuded an aura of vicissitudes. It was obvious that he was not young anymore. However, after hearing Zhu Yinxing's words, his eyes lit up. "Are you sure it was a Dharma spirit weapon?" "I'm not sure." Zhu Yinxing shook his head. However, the person who sold the broken sword was an early primal core adept, and the person who bought the broken sword was a mid-primal core adept. Furthermore, that mid-primal core adept looked to be at most 20 years old. His appearance does not match his true age. He must have taken good care of himself to look so young. End of this chapter. Chapter 198. 100 Spirit Stones. The mid-primal core adept gave it very readily. Zhu Yinxing said, 100 spirit stones? Li Pingzhi's eyes narrowed. Even as the second elder of the Xianyin sect, he only received 96 spirit stones a year, not even 100. That mid-primal core adept had given someone 100 spirit stones in exchange for a suspected Dharma spirit weapon without hesitation. The early primal core adept burned that broken sword with his samadhi fire, but not only did it not melt, it did not even turn red. Zhu Yinxing continued. Also, on that broken sword, there are some complicated patterns. This is very similar to the spirit weapon of the Xianyin sect. That mid-primal core adept could not be a fool. Li Pingji thought for a moment, then guessed, that broken sword is definitely a Dharma spirit weapon. Go and buy that broken sword from him. He spent 100 spirit stones to buy it, so give him 110 spirit stones. I think he will give our Xianyin sect some face. Li Pingji raised his hand, and 110 spirit stones flew out and floated in front of Zhu Yinxing. His words were full of confidence. The Xianyin sect was one of the top 5 sects of the Ziyun planet. This was the source of his confidence. Yes, master. Zhu Yinxing left the Xianyin sect and went to Xianyin City to look for master. As expected, Zhu Yinxing was rejected. Sir, my master is the second elder of the Xianyin sect, Li Pingji. He's the one who wants to buy the broken sword you bought today. Zhu Yinxing looked at the young man in white and said in a low voice, his eyes threatening. Not for sale. Zhou Dongwang rejected calmly. My master is one of the 2 golden essence adepts of the Xianyin sect. Zhu Yinxing's voice grew darker. Oh, Zhou Dongwang's eyes flashed. Zhongya, you are quite knowledgeable. You even know my master's name. However, my grandmaster is Qi Ming, the junior of Grandmaster Zhongya. Zhu Yinxing said proudly. Zhu Yinxing originally thought that since he had brought up his master ancestor, the young man in front of him also knew that the Xianyin sect's Jindan stage ancestor would definitely give him face. However, he didn't expect to be rejected. The other party did not give him any face at all. Your Excellency, are you not giving face to the 2 ancestors of our mysterious Yin sect? Are you not giving our Xianyin sect any face? Zhu Yinxing's face was so gloomy that it seemed like it could drip water. Scram! Hearing the threat in Zhu Yinxing's words, Zhou Dongwang's face turned cold, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. Zhu Yinxing was so frightened that his expression changed, and he did not dare to say another word as he hurriedly turned and fled. If a mid-primal core adept really wanted to kill him, he would not even have the chance to escape. When he left, Zhu Yinxing didn't even dare to say anything harsh. Chen Dandan, Zhongya, we will meet again soon. After Zhu Yinxing left, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a mocking smile. Back then, when Zhongya had taken Chen Dandan away, he had reminded him that once Chen Dandan was taken away, it would be considered as forming karma with him. In the end, Zhongya had still taken Chen Dandan away. This time, he had come to the Feast of Ziyun precisely to settle this matter in front of all the people from all over the planet of Ziyun. Damn it! Damn it! That guy, he didn't give me any face at all. After leaving the inn, Zhu Yinxing left Xianyin City with an ugly expression and returned to the Xianyin sect. The first thing he did was to look for his master. He didn't give me any face? Did you mention me? The second elder of the Xianyin sect, Li Pingji, had an ugly expression on his face. I didn't just mention you, master. I also mentioned senior and senior granduncle, but he still didn't give me any face. Zhu Yinxing said angrily. I finally mentioned the Xianyin sect, but not only did he not give me any face, he even told me to scram. Master, why don't you personally go and snatch that broken sword? If he doesn't know what's good for him, you can kill him. As he said this, Zhu Yinxing's eyes were full of murderous intent. In 10 days, it will be the Feast of Ziyun. Before we find out his background, we shouldn't act rashly. After all, the Xianyin sect is the host of this Feast of Ziyun. Although Li Pingji was angry, he did not lose his rationality. I will go see your senior granduncle and ask him to send someone to keep an eye on that young man. If he still doesn't know what's good for him after the Feast of Ziyun is over, we will snatch it by force. As he said this, Li Pingji went to look for his master, one of the 2 golden essence elders of the Xianyin sect, Qi Ming. Qi Ming was also the distinguished elder of the Xianyin sect. There were two distinguished elders in the Xianyin sect. They were the two golden essence elders of the Xianyin sect, Qi Ming and Zhongya. Dharma spirit weapon? Qi Ming was an old man dressed in a long blue robe. He looked even older than Li Pingji because he was older than Li Pingji by a few decades. Master, Uncle Master does not have much time left. He probably has no hope of entering the Dharma stage. If that broken sword is indeed a Dharma spirit weapon, you might be able to use it to understand the mysteries of Dharma and successfully enter the Dharma stage in the next few decades, extending your lifespan by 300 years. Li Pingji said to Qi Ming with a passionate gaze. You have arranged this matter very well. After listening to Li Pingji's explanation of the entire situation and his final decision, Qi Ming nodded his head in satisfaction. However, there is one thing that you are wrong about. 3 years ago, after your Uncle Master accepted Chen Dandan as his disciple, his thoughts were clear, and he is now half a step into the Dharma stage. If there are no accidents, he can definitely enter the Dharma stage and become a Dharma adept before he dies of old age. Qi Ming's gaze was passionate. As for the sect leader, I will inform him. However, I have to inform your martial uncle about this. If that broken sword is indeed a Dharma spirit weapon, he might be able to directly enter the Dharma stage and become a Dharma adept. Qi Ming immediately went to look for his senior, Zhongya. Zhongya was the golden essence adept who had come to the Valley of the Medicine Masters and saved Chen Dandan when Zhou Donghuang was about to kill her. 3 years had passed, and Zhongya looked even older than before. However, his eyes were bright and full of energy, and his aura had become stronger and stronger. He was completely different from how he was 3 years ago. If I have a Dharma spirit weapon, I will have a higher chance of entering the Dharma stage. After hearing about the Dharma spirit weapon, even though Zhongya's heart was as calm as still water, he could not help but feel excited. This matter, let's do as Li Pingji said. Junior, go and tell the sect leader that he must send 2 late primal core elders to keep an eye on that young man. If that young man leaves before the feast of Ziyun ends, follow him and kill him. Then we can take the broken sword that seems to be a Dharma spirit weapon from him. Zhongya's eyes shone brightly, like 2 bright stars in the night sky, dazzling and eye-catching. Understood, Qi Ming replied and left. Congratulations, teacher. In the courtyard where Zhongya was, the girl who was trimming the flowers stopped what she was doing and congratulated Zhongya after Qi Ming left. This girl was the disciple that Zhongya had taken in 3 years ago, Chen Dandan. 3 years later, Chen Dandan's face was no longer childish. She was wearing a light blue dress, and her face was beautiful. Her figure was graceful, and her long legs were especially eye-catching. We are still not sure if it is a Dharma spirit weapon. It is too early to thank him. Zhongya shook his head. As he spoke, he looked at Chen Dandan. In 10 days, at the Feast of Ziyun, our Xianyin sect and the other 4 sects of Ziyun will send people from the early Khanate stage to the ultimate primal core stage to compete. There will be prizes for all 8 competitions, and the prizes will be given directly to the disciples of the sects who win. Among the early Khanate disciples of our Xianyin sect, I am prepared to give you a spot. Half a year ago, Chen Dandan had already entered the Khanate stage and become a Khanate adept. Thank you, teacher. Chen Dandan's eyes lit up, and she thanked him profusely. At that time, you will have 4 chances to compete. As long as you can win 3 matches, after the Feast of Ziyun ends, I will ask your head senior brother to accompany you to your hometown and help you kill your enemies. Zhongya said. Hearing this, Chen Dandan's eyes lit up even more. Her head senior brother, Zhongya's disciple, was the head elder of the Xianyin sect. In the Xianyin sect, he was the second most powerful late primal core adept, and his ability was second only to the leader of the Xianyin sect. Prepare well. You still have 10 days left. As he finished speaking, Zhongya returned to his room to train. Chen Dandan was excited for a while before she calmed down. Her eyes flashed coldly. Zhou Donghuang, I hope you are still alive and well. After the Feast of Ziyun ends, I will return to the 16 countries of the East Valley with head senior brother. I will bring your mother, Lin Lan, to you and torture her to death in front of you. Then I will cut you into 1,000 pieces one by one." Chun Dandan muttered to herself, as if she was full of confidence in her performance at the Feast of Ziyun. In the next 10 days, the people from the 4 main sects of the Ziyun planet, including the Divine Light sect, arrived at the Xianin sect's base and temporarily stayed there. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. The Feast of Ziyun arrived as scheduled. In Xinyan City, the sky had not completely brightened yet, but a large group of people had already gathered in the sky above the vast open space in the center of the city. They had all come in advance to reserve seats. Most of the seats with the best view had already been occupied. Now, on the vast open space, a high platform had been erected. Around the high platform, in 5 directions, there were also rows of spectator stands. These spectator stands were prepared for the main characters of today's Feast of Ziyun, the 5 main sections. At the Feast of Ziyun, each of the 5 main sects will send out 19 people to spar with those of the same level of practice from the other 4 main sects. The winner of the spar will receive generous rewards from the 5 main sections. 19 people, among them, there are 3 early Khanate stage, 3 middle Khanate stage, 3 late Khanate stage, and 3 ultimate Khanate stage. 2 early Primal Core, 2 middle Primal Core, 2 late Primal Core, and 1 ultimate Primal Core. Chapter 199. The Feast of Ziyun was a stage for the 5 main sects of Ziyun to showcase their strength and heritage. The reason why they had invited guests from all over Ziyun was to let everyone in Ziyun know that as long as the 5 main sects were on Ziyun, they were the sky of Ziyun. They're here. About 2 hours after the sun rose, the group of people in the sky above Xinyan City, whether they were riding on flying beasts or flying primal core adepts, all parted to form a path. Those who did not have the ability to fly also crowded around the perimeter, their eyes fixed on the sky. There was a group of people riding the wind towards them. Upon closer inspection, one could see that these people were divided into 5 groups. That's the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi. In the air, someone recognized one of the 2 people in the lead. He was dressed in a long green robe, and his forehead was full of wrinkles. His hair was white, and he was the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi. The leader of the Xianin sect? Although he is walking side by side with that person, he seems to be intentionally lagging behind. For the leader of the Xianin sect to do this, he must be one of the 2 golden essence adepts of the Xianin sect. Soon, many people looked at the old man beside Lu Yi, the Xianin sect leader. He looked even older, but his gaze was unusually sharp, and they vaguely guessed his identity. One of the 2 golden essence adepts of the Xianin sect will be 300 years old in a few days, and he is at a critical juncture of breaking through to the Dharma stage, so it is impossible for him to be here. This person must be Elder Qi Ming of the Xianin sect. When someone guessed which Jindan stage ancestor of the Xianin sect he was, many people's eyes suddenly became hot. Golden Essence Adept. He stood at the pinnacle of the martial way of Ziyun. If not for this occasion, they would never have the chance to meet such a person in their lifetime. The Golden Essence Adept of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming, is a godlike person. Although I am far away in the Thousand Autumn Empire, I still hear of him. 20 years ago, 3 late Primal Core Itinerant Adepts and 5 mid-Primal Core Itinerant Adepts joined forces, intending to steal the large amount of spirit stones produced in the spirit stone vein controlled by the Xianin sect. At that time, Qi Ming, who had just entered the ultimate primal core stage, single-handedly killed all 8 of them in a short span of 10 breaths. That was how he became famous. Although Senior Qi Ming is a golden core adept, he is not the strongest in the Xianin sect. The strongest person in the Xianin sect is still Senior Zhongya. Of course, Senior Zhongya is currently the most senior in the Xianin sect. 100 years ago, he had already entered the ultimate primal core stage and became a golden essence adept. During the Feast of Ziyun, the 5 main sects of the Ziyun planet would also send out their golden essence adepts to spar and exchange pointers with each other, displaying the supreme power of their respective sections. It was obvious that the Xianin sect's golden elixir cultivator, Qi Ming, would be participating in today's Feast of Ziyun. Among those people, Most of them are Buddhist adepts. They should be from the Divine Light sect. Very quickly, the gazes of the crowd landed on another group of people. Among these people, most of them were not only bald, but they were also dressed in cassocks. Impressively, they were all Buddhist adepts. The foundation of the Divine Light sect is the strongest among the 5 main sects of the Ziyun planet. The best spirit stone vein in the Ziyun planet is occupied by the Divine Light sect. In the history of the Ziyun planet, there have been a total of 2 Dharma adepts. The first Dharma adept came from the Tianwu sect. As for the second Dharma adept, which is also the one who appeared recently, he came from the Divine Light sect. The Dharma adept from the Tianwu sect left the Ziyun planet as soon as he entered the Dharma stage and did not fight for any benefits for the Tianwu sect, unlike the Dharma adept from the Divine Light sect, who remained on the Ziyun planet. Although he did not make any moves, the Divine Light sect that he led was publicly recognized as the top sect of the Ziyun planet. After confirming that the people in front of them were from the Divine Light sect, more people began to focus their attention on the 2 people leading the group. Among the 2 people leading the Divine Light sect, that middle-aged monk should be the current leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin. Although Tua Jin is young, just over 100 years old, he is already a late primal core adept, and his strength is second only to the 3 golden essence elders of the Divine Light sect. Compared to the Dharma adept of the Divine Light sect, Lord Tua Jin entered the late primal core stage earlier. Many people say that he will be the next Dharma adept of the Ziyun planet. The old monk in the golden cassock next to Lord Tua Jin should be one of the 2 guardians of the Divine Light sect. I wonder if it is Guardian Ci Yun or Guardian Ci Xian. It must be Guardian Ci Xian. Guardian Ci Yun is elusive, and he is nearing the end of his 300-year lifespan. It is impossible for him to participate in the Feast of Ziyun. 20 years ago, Guardian Ci Xian participated in the Feast of Ziyun for the Divine Light sect. This time, it will not be an exception. Guardian Ci Xian fought with Elder Qi Ming of the Xianin sect 20 years ago and defeated him. Guardian Ci Xian entered the ultimate primal core stage a long time ago, whereas Elder Qi Ming only entered the ultimate primal core stage 20 years ago. Naturally, he is more skilled. After paying attention to the group of people from the Divine Light sect, the crowd's gaze fell on the other 3 groups of people. The people from the Qinxiu sect, the people from the Tianwu sect, the people from the Xuesha sect. Other than the Xianin sect, who was the host and had more people, there were only 20 people from the other 4 major sections. At least, only 20 people had shown themselves. Of course, among the crowd of onlookers, there would definitely be elders and disciples of the major sects hidden everywhere. It was just that they did not walk together with the main characters of the major sects today. Other than the people from the Xianin sect, there were now 20 people from the 4 major sections. Other than the leaders of their respective sects, the remaining 19 people were the ones who were going to compete today. A group of Khanate adepts were also led by the primal core adepts of the various sections. They landed in the spectator seats in the center of Xinyan City and sat down in a few rows. The people from each sect took up a section of the spectator seats. In the first row, there were only 2 people, the leaders of the various sects, as well as the golden essence adepts of the various sects who had come today. Everyone is here. The Feast of Ziyun is about to begin. The eyes of the onlookers from all over the planet of Ziyun lit up, their faces full of anticipation. These people had traveled thousands of miles to come to Xinyan City just to witness the entire process of this Feast of Ziyun. This would not only be a feast in their lives, but it would also be something they could brag about for the rest of their lives. The 5 leaders of the 5 major sects of the planet of Ziyun are all gathered together, and there are also 5 golden essence adepts who stand at the pinnacle of the planet of Ziyun. Such a scene can only be seen at the Feast of Ziyun. Today I have seen the leaders of the 5 major sects of the planet of Ziyun, as well as 5 golden essence adepts. I have no regrets in this life. 5 golden essence adepts. Almost half of the golden essence adepts of the planet of Ziyun are present. Under the expectant gazes of the crowd, the Xianin sect, as the host, finally made a move. Everyone, I am the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi. The leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi, rose from his seat in the spectators' seats, and in the blink of an eye, he was in the air above the high platform. His body spun 360 degrees in the air, and his gaze swept across the surrounding onlookers. Now, I announce that the Feast of Ziyun officially begins. When the Feast of Ziyun began, in an inn in Xianyan City, a huge black eagle soared into the sky. On its back sat a delicate little girl, and behind the little girl stood a young man. The young man was dressed in a clean white robe, and he stood with his hands behind his back. His gaze was calm and focused in front of him, full of disdain. In that instant, the young man's tall figure seemed to be able to support the heavens and the earth. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the giant eagle seemed to transform into a bolt of lightning and flew into the clouds. Stop! As the young man spoke, the giant eagle stopped, and the little girl on the eagle's back turned to look at the young man with a puzzled expression. Brother, aren't we going to watch the Feast of Ziyun now? Xiaolu, wait here with little gold for a while. I'll go settle some small matters. Zhou Dongwang patted Yin Lu's little head affectionately, and with a slight smile, his figure flickered, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Whoosh! In the sky above the heads of the two sneaky figures that were about to pass through the clouds, a white figure appeared, causing the two sneaky figures to hurriedly stop in their tracks. You two have been watching me for a whole 10 days. Zhou Dongwang looked down at the two old men, his white robe fluttering in the wind. Standing in the air with his hands behind his back, he was like a superior looking down on two inferior people. You discovered it long ago? As the two old men's expressions changed slightly, they also noticed the silver halo surrounding Zhou Donghuang's body. You broken through. In their eyes, the young man in front of them was only a mid-primal core adept. But now it seemed that he was no longer a mid-primal core adept, but a late primal core adept, catching up to them in terms of level practice. And just as the two old men's expressions changed, the silver inner yuan around Zhou Donghuang's body suddenly exploded, and in an instant, it was like a blazing flame was burning. The vast and majestic inner yuan rushed towards them, suffocating the two old men. What a thick inner yuan! We're both silver essence adepts. But why does his inner yuan feel like it's at least twice as thick as mine? Feeling the inner yuan of the young man in front of them, the two old men's expressions changed again. Boom! The silver flames on the surface of Zhou Donghuang's body suddenly exploded, and at a speed that the two old men could not even sense, he closed in on them, his hand rising and falling. Whoosh! As his palm swept past, there was a burst of silver light, and the head of one of the old men flew directly into the air. Fresh blood splattered everywhere, smearing the face of the other old man. At this time, Zhou Dongwang had already moved to the other side, his back facing the surviving old man, whose face was pale with fright and whose entire body was trembling violently. Tell Zhongya that I, Zhou Dongwang, will wait for him at the Feast of Ziyun to settle the karma. Into this chapter, Chapter 200, Xianyan City. At the venue of the Feast of Ziyun. Bang! A soft sound rang out. It was a young man who had raised his hand and landed a palm on another young man, knocking him off the high platform and claiming victory in this match. The young man struck out with his palm, releasing a foot of chi. As for the other young man, when he landed awkwardly, a similar foot of chi swept out from his feet. Obviously, both of them were early Khanate adepts. And now, the Feast of Ziyun had begun. The early Khanate adepts from the 5 major sects of Ziyun were divided into 3 groups of 5 and would begin the first round of sparring. Number 2, dressed in a long green dress, a young lady with delicate features sat in the second row of the audience. She looked at the jade slip in her hand, her eyes shining. The first round of sparring is about to end. The lady looked at the white-robed Buddhist adept on the high platform, and her heart skipped a beat. As long as the 2 from the Tianwu sect and the Xinguang sect decide the winner, it will be the turn of the second group, including me, to fight. Master said that if I win 3 rounds, he will let senior brother follow me back to the 16 countries of the East Valley to help me take revenge. but I want to win 4 rounds. The lady was Chun Dandan. Her eyes shone, and her face was full of confidence. The first round of sparring at the Feast of Zion were 15 early Khanate adepts, 3 from each sect. The 15 would draw lots and be divided into 3 groups, and the strongest person in each group would be decided. Then, the 3 who emerged from the 3 groups would receive generous rewards from the 5 major sects of Zion. Now, the strongest person in the first group was about to be decided. Senior, do you want to rest? The white-robed Buddhist adept was an early Khanate adept from the Xinguang sect. He looked to be about 20 years old, and when he smiled at the young man on the high platform, 2 dimples appeared on his cheeks. It didn't take much, it won't affect me. The young man, who was also the first early Khanate adept from the Tianwu sect, shook his head lightly. In that case, Senior, you go first. The Xinguang sect disciple put his palms together and said politely, "All right." The young man did not stand on ceremony. His entire body was covered with a layer of inner qi, and it was as if his entire body had turned into a green flame, pouncing on the Divine Light sect disciple as if to swallow him up. Faced with the aggressive young man, the disciples of the Divine Light sect also had serious expressions. As the young man advanced, they retreated and defended themselves. After a while, he finally regained the initiative. Bang! After 10 moves, the disciple of the Divine Light sect casually threw a punch, and his inner chi exploded, mercilessly knocking the young man, who had already won 3 rounds, off the stage. Victory! The disciples of the Divine Light sect had come out on top at this year's Feast of Zion. He is indeed a disciple of the Divine Light sect. Although he is only an early Khanate stage adept, the power he has displayed is so strong that in the entire Zion planet, there are only a handful of early Khanate stage adepts who can compare to him. Most mid-Khanate stage adepts would have to expend some effort to defeat him, even if they could. The performance of the Divine Light sect disciples made the onlookers gasp in amazement. The Divine Light sect was indeed the top sect of the Ziyun planet in the past. Even a small, early Khanate stage disciple from the sect was so amazing. Sect leader Tua Jin, Chao Gang is already the strongest early Khanate stage disciple in our Tianwu sect. Your Divine Light sect disciples are amazing. The leader of the Tianwu sect, a burly middle-aged man dressed in loose training garb, looked at the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, from afar and exclaimed in admiration. Sect leader Yi, you flatter me. Tua Jin smiled modestly. The leader of the Tianwu sect was called Yi Wan. He looked very rough, but his name was very genteel, and he sounded more like a scholar than a warrior. After the Divine Light sect disciple won and left the stage, the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi, sat among the audience and said in a clear voice, "Now, the disciples of the various sects who have lot number 2 can go up to the stage." Whoosh! Before Lu Yi could finish speaking, a green figure in the audience behind him had already left the audience seats like a ghost, and in the blink of an eye, she was on the stage. It was Chun Dandan. The goal that Chun Dandan's teacher, Zhongya, had set for her was to win 3 rounds, so she was the first to leave the stage. Even though she was confident that she was not inferior to the early Khanate stage disciples of the other 4 sects, she was still the first to ascend the stage. A female disciple? The Xianin sect is letting a female disciple go up. At the same time that Chun Dandan appeared, not only did the audience feel that the Xianin sect was being reckless, but the people of the other 4 sects also felt that the Xianin sect was being too reckless. Female adepts, because their bodies were innately weaker than male adepts, were usually at a disadvantage when fighting adepts of the same level of practice. Sect leader Lu, is the Xianin sect giving benefits to the disciples of the other 4 sects? You actually sent a female disciple. The leader of the Shuisha sect, a middle-aged man in a blood-red robe, looked at the leader of the Xianin sect, Lu Yi, and shook his head as he grinned. Sect leader Hu, don't underestimate this female disciple of the Xianin sect. Lu Yi smiled calmly. Why? Could it be that this female disciple of the Xianin sect has some special abilities? The face of the leader of the Shuisha sect, Hu Chengshua, was full of disdain. After Chun Dandan went up, The early Khanate stage disciples of the other four sects who had gotten lot number 2 did not move. All of them felt that it would be unfair for them to fight a female. No one was willing to stand out. They were all afraid of being laughed at. Her name is Chun Dandan. Before Lu Yi could respond to Hu Qingxia, the old man sitting beside Lu Yi, the Xianin sect supreme elder Qi Ming, glanced at Hu Qingxia and said, "She is the disciple that my senior brother took in 3 years ago." As Qi Ming finished speaking, the entire place fell into a dead silence. Who was Qi Ming? The grand elder of the Xianin sect. One of the 2 golden essence elders of the Xianin sect. In the Xianin sect, the only person who could be called senior by him was the other golden essence elder of the Xianin sect, the strongest in the Xianin sect, Zhongya. She is actually senior Zhong Ya's disciple. The disdain on the face of the leader of the Shuasha sect, Hu Chengshua, completely disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by shock. He had never imagined that this female disciple of the Xianin sect would be a disciple of the Xianin sect's patriarch, Zhongya. Whoosh! Before many people could recover from their shock, a figure had already flown out from the spectator seats where the 1,000-year sect members were seated and directly climbed onto the high platform. It was a young man dressed in embroidered robes. He was also the early Khanate stage adept from the 1,000-year sect who had drawn lot number 2. Damn it. Someone beat me to it. This fellow, isn't he too fast? I missed him. When the 1,000-year sect disciple climbed onto the high platform and faced Chun Dandan, the early Khanate stage disciples from the other 3 sects who had gotten lot number 2 all beat their chests and stamped their feet, feeling that it was a great pity. They had previously felt that attacking Chun Dandan would be a loss of face. But now, they felt that this was their chance to make a name for themselves in one battle. In their eyes, Chun Dandan was no longer just a Xianin sect disciple. She was the disciple of the Xianin sect's golden essence adept, Patriarch Zhongya. As long as they defeated Chun Dandan, they could brag everywhere in the future that they had once defeated a disciple of the Xianin sect's golden essence adept. This would be enough for them to brag about for the rest of their lives. Junior Sister Dandan, I am Tan from the 1,000-year sect. Just as the 1,000-year sect disciple was about to introduce himself, Chun Dandan interrupted him again and said calmly, I have no interest in knowing the name of a defeated opponent. The moment Chun Dandan said this, the 1,000-year sect disciple's expression changed drastically in anger. As for the others, they were also in an uproar as they felt the strong confidence revealed in Chun Dandan's words. Bang! Just as Chun Dandan finished speaking, the chi under her feet had already exploded. Her entire body pushed off the ground and flew out like an arrow that had been released from a bow, shooting towards the 1,000-year sect disciple. After the 1,000-year sect disciple came back to his senses, his expression was very ugly. He wanted to regain his dignity through his limbs, but he realized that Chun Dandan was not shooting randomly. Her ability was indeed above his. Moreover, Chun Dandan had the upper hand by striking first. After 3 moves, the 1,000-year sect disciple was struck off the high platform by Chun Dandan's palm blade. At this time, the other 3 disciples from the 3 major sects who had drawn lot number 2 also had solemn expressions. They no longer dared to underestimate Chun Dandan just because she was a woman. Bang! Crack! Boom! Under the shocked gazes of the spectators, Chun Dandan only used 2 moves to defeat one of the 3 remaining people. As for the other 2, one used 5 moves and the other used 6 moves. Chun Dandan successfully reached the top of this year's feast of Xian's second group of early Khanate adepts. Impressive. Impressive. As expected of the disciple of a golden essence adept, women are not inferior to men. After Chun Dandan reached the top, the crowd unsurprisingly burst into exclamations. The crowd was not stingy with their words of praise. Even some of the higher-ups of the 4 major sects began to praise Chun Dandan, and, at the same time, they flattered the Xianin sect's golden essence adept, Zhongya. Senior Zhongya is not only powerful, but the way he teaches his disciples is equally amazing. At this moment, as the main character, Chun Dandan stood on the high platform, listening to the praises and flattery coming from all around her. She raised her head proudly like a proud peacock. At the same time, in Chun Danden's mind, the figure of a youth dressed in snow-white clothes flashed without any warning. It's a pity that Zhou Dongwang won't be able to see this. Zhou Dongwang, I hope you're not dead yet. After the feast of Ziyun ends, I will bring Big Senior Brother back to the 16 countries of the East Valley. I want you to witness your mother being tortured to death by me, and then I will cut you into 1,000 pieces. Just as Chun Dandan regained her senses and was about to step off the stage. In 3 years, Chun Dandan, this is how much progress you've made? A sudden, calm voice floated down from the sky, as if it contained some kind of magical power, suppressing all the noise in the crowd. End of this chapter. Chapter 201. At the Feast of Ziyun, in the air above the stage, a young man stood with his hands behind his back, dressed in a robe as white as snow. He was handsome and had an extraordinary aura. His gaze was sharp as he looked down at Chun Dandan, who was about to step down from a stage. At that moment, his voice, which seemed to contain magic power, suppressed all the noise in the area and successfully attracted everyone's attention. In 3 years, Chun Dandan, this is how much progress you've made? The crowd turned to look, and when they saw the young man's face clearly, other than the Divine Light sect's right-hand man, C.I. Xian, Lord Tajin, and a few other Primal Core adepts, everyone else's eyes widened. Primal Core adept? Look at the milky white inner yuan around him. He's obviously a mid-Primal Core adept. This young man who looked like a mid-Primal Core adept looked to be about 20 years old. No matter how good he was at maintaining his youthful looks, he could not be that old. Who is he? I don't know. Looking at his posture, he doesn't seem friendly, and he seems to be targeting Chun Dandan. He's just a mid-Primal Core adept, and he dares to offend Chun Dandan? Chun Dandan is a disciple of the Xianin sect's Golden Essence adept, Zhongya, and there are so many senior members of the Xianin sect here. Everyone's gazes, including those from the Xianin sect, subconsciously fell on Chun Dandan at this moment. Zhou Dongwang. Chun Dandan had never imagined that the person she had been praying for to be alive would actually appear in front of her in the next moment. Not only was he alive, but he had also entered the mid-Primal Core stage and become a mid-Primal Core adept. In 3 years, the childishness on his face had faded, and he looked much more mature. Most importantly, he had further widened the gap between them. Moreover, this gap made her feel suffocated and hopeless. In 3 years, she had broken through from level 4 of Qi Gathering to become an early Khanate adept. In the same period of time, Zhou Dongwang had broken through from the early Khanate stage to the mid-Primal Core adept, leaving her in the dust. A 22-year-old mid-Primal Core adept. Others might think that the young man in front of her looked like he was in his 20s because he was good at maintaining his youthful looks, but Chun Dandan knew his age very well. He was only 22 this year. How is this possible? Chun Dandan couldn't believe it. She even wondered if she was dreaming. However, after a moment, she confirmed that she was not dreaming. The young man before her had indeed become a mid-Primal Core adept at the age of 22. Something's wrong. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Chun Dandan's mind, as if she had suddenly thought of something, and her eyes lit up. So what if he is a mid-Primal Core adept now? Could he be Teacher's match? Among the higher-ups of our Xianin sect, there are many who are capable of killing him. As she thought of this, the shock on Chun Dandan's face disappeared and was replaced by a cold look. She stared at Zhou Dongwang with a murderous look in her eyes. Zhou Dongwang, I really did not expect that you would actually enter the mid-Primal Core stage and become a mid-Primal Core adept. Chun Dandan raised her head and looked at the young man. I have to say, this is really surprising. But that's all there is to it. Today, since you are here, don't even think of leaving. As soon as she finished speaking, Chun Dandan, who was deeply afraid that the young man would escape, immediately looked towards the audience where the higher-ups of the Xianin sect were. Uncle Master, sect leader, senior brother, this person is my mortal enemy. 3 years ago, he spoke rudely to Teacher and even threatened to take revenge on the Xianin sect. As soon as Chun Dandan said this, whoosh, 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 the Xianin sect Grand Elder Qi Ming, Xianin sect leader Lu Yi, and the Xianin sect head elder by Tang all moved, surrounding Zhou Dongwang in a triangular formation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After Qi Ming and the other two moved, the remaining primal core adepts of the Xianin sect also moved, surrounding the perimeter and staring at Zhou Dongwang fiercely. You spoke rudely to my senior brother, and even threatened to take revenge on the Xianin sect? Qi Ming's gaze was like lightning as he stared at the young man in white. His face was expressionless, but there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Wow! At the same time, the surrounding crowd was in an uproar. Chen Danden's words had shocked them as well. This early primal core adept had actually dared to speak rudely to the most powerful adept of the Xianin sect, Zhongya, and even threatened to take revenge on the Xianin sect? Was he crazy? But since he spoke rudely to Senior Zhongya 3 years ago, why didn't Senior Zhongya kill him then? I find it strange, too. Logically speaking, with Senior Zhongya's power, killing a mid-primal core adept should be as easy as killing a chicken. Some people question this. 3 years ago, Master did not want to kill him. As Qi Ming and the rest looked at her in confusion, Chen Danden gritted her teeth and said, "At that time, Master hoped that I could kill him with my own power, because he is my enemy. But what I did not expect was, in just 3 years, he had advanced from the early Khanate stage to the mid-primal core stage. I, Chen Danden, have asked myself, in this lifetime, I will never have the chance to kill him with my own power." There was a hint of bitterness in Chen Danden's voice as she spoke. Her gaze towards the young man became colder and colder. As soon as Chen Danden's words came out, the crowd fell silent again. From the early Khanate stage to the mid-primal core stage in 3 years? Could there be such an adept on the planet of Ziyun? At that moment, besides the group of primal core adept from the Divine Light sect, everyone else, including Qi Ming and the other senior members of the Xianin sect, had a look of doubt on their faces. No one dared to believe Chen Danden's words. This was because Chen Danden's words were too shocking and unbelievable. From the early Khanate stage to the mid-primal core stage in 3 years? Was it possible? Uncle Master, sect leader, senior brother. Chen Danden's gaze swept across Qi Ming, Lu Yi, and Bai Shitang, and she said seriously, "This Zhou Dongwang's growth is too fast, too frightening. It's fortunate that he came today. If he was allowed to continue to grow, in a few years, no one in the Xianin sect would be able to stop him." Chen Danden said. Chen Danden. As soon as Chen Danden finished speaking, Zhou Dongwang spoke. He looked at Chen Danden with disdain, sarcasm, and mostly mockery. "What you mean by this is, right now, there's someone in the Xianin sect who can stop me." The corner of Zhou Dongwang's mouth curled up in a mocking smile. As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, he attracted everyone's attention. He really came. The leader of the Divine Light sect, Tu Jin, looked at the young man in white with a complicated expression and sighed softly. The Xianin sect is finished. The right guardian of the Divine Light sect, the Golden Essence Adept, C.I. Xian, shook his head. Unlike the group of primal core adepts from the Divine Light sect, the rest of the people present, upon hearing Zhou Dongwang's words, only thought that Zhou Dongwang had gone mad. A mid-primal core adept dared to spout such nonsense? If he was not crazy, then what was? Where did this lunatic come from? Challenging the Xianin sect like this, he's dead meat. Based on his personality, how did he survive until now? Whether it was the people from the Qinxiu sect, the Tianwu sect, or the Shuisha sect, from the Golden Essence adepts to the early Khanate disciples, they all looked at Zhou Dongwang as if they were looking at a dead man. Little Gold, that Chen Danden thinks that the people from the Xianin sect can defeat brother. In the distance, Yin Lu stood on Little Gold's back. She looked at Chen Danden with a similarly cold gaze. Although this was the first time she had met Chen Danden, she had heard many stories of Chen Danden being ungrateful and betraying her mother and brother Zhou Dongwang. As for Chen Danden, she wanted nothing more than to kill her to avenge her mother and brother. Sometimes, ignorance is a good thing. At least, before she passes away, she will not be in despair for too long. Little Gold shook his head and looked at Chen Danden as if he was looking at a fool. an idiot. Just as the group of people from the Xianin sect heard Zhou Donghuang's words, they were all stunned for a moment, and then they all smiled mockingly. Whoosh! On Zhou Donghuang's body, the solidified, milky white inner yuan was instantly engulfed by a majestic and vast silver flame, making him look like a god of silver flames. And this scene instantly caused the group of people to stare in shock. The primal core adepts of the Xianin sect surrounding Zhou Donghuang, including the golden essence adept Qi Ming, could not help but be stunned. They could not understand at all. How could a mid-primal core adept suddenly release the silver inner yuan of a late primal core adept? Furthermore, it was such a ridiculously thick inner yuan. Whoosh! Under the gaze of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang's figure flashed, and the silver flame pierced through the air, heading straight for Qi Ming, who had not had time to react. And just as Qi Ming regained his composure, a hand reached out from the silver flame. A hand reached out from the silver flames that were rushing towards him. There was an unfolded folding fan in the hand, and the ribs of the fan flickered with an extremely cold light. Whoosh! The silver flame brushed past Qi Ming's body, and the folding fan pierced through the air, bringing with it a sound like a knife cutting through the air. No! Almost at the same time that the crowd saw fresh blood splatter through the air and the head of the Xianin sect's golden core cultivator, Qi Ming, separated from his body and flew into the air. They heard Qi Ming's shrill and despairing cry. What the naked eye saw was traveling at the speed of light, and the speed of light was faster than the speed of sound. Above Qi Ming's head, which had flown into the air, was a pair of staring eyes filled with terror, and his blood-stained face was filled with despair. This scene caused everyone present to subconsciously hold their breaths. Qi Ming, the Xianin sect golden essence adept, was dead. Whoosh! 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 Buzz! 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 Before Qi Ming's head had even landed on the ground, and before the crowd had time to react, Zhou Donghuang had struck and killed all the Xianin sect primal core adepts who had surrounded him. One by one, heads flew into the air, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. It was like a game of chess for Chundandan. End of this chapter. Chapter 202. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the dead silence of the Feast of Ziyun, blood rained down, and the sound of it hitting the ground could be heard clearly. Chun Dandan's body and face were covered in blood, but now she stood rooted to the ground, looking dazedly at the young man, standing in the air with his hands clasped behind his back. Apart from the group of primal core adepts from the Divine Light sect and Yun Lu, who were not surprised by this, the rest of the people present were completely shocked. Just now, the group of primal core adepts from the Xianin sect had moved to surround the young man. At that moment, they could clearly see that the body of the Xianin sect's great elder Qi Ming was surrounded by a golden halo, which was obviously the golden inner yuan unique to golden essence adepts. As for the Xianin sect leader Lu Yi, the Xianin sect head elder by Shurtang, and another elder of the Xianin sect, their bodies were also surrounded by silver inner yuan. 3 late primal core adepts. As for the other 4 primal core adepts from the Xianin sect, 2 were surrounded by solid white inner yuan, and 2 were surrounded by a faint white fog. 2 mid-primal core adepts, and 2 early primal core adepts. However, it was these people who had been killed by the young man in the blink of an eye. Thump! 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 It was only when the bodies of the primal core adepts from the Xianin sect fell to the ground that the onlookers came back to their senses, their faces full of shock and fear. One by one, their gazes fell on the young man in white who was holding a folding fan like a scholar in the air, and they were all filled with fear. Golden essence adepts were killed by him so easily, and their heads were cut off. In a short span of 2 breaths, all the primal core adepts of the Xianin sect, from the golden essence adept Qi Ming and sect leader Lu Yi, down to 2 mid-primal core elders and 2 early primal core disciples, are all dead? My God, who exactly is he? With just the silver inner yuan unique to late primal core adepts, he managed to kill 8 primal core adepts from the Xianin sect. In front of him, the golden essence adepts and early primal core adepts are no different, and they were all decapitated by him with just one move. Waves of gasps could be heard coming from the crowd at the Feast of Ziyun. Now, The members of the other three major sects of Ziyun who had been gloating over Zhou Donghuang's misfortune, whether they were from the Celestial Sect, the Thousand-Year Sect, or the Shueisha Sect, were all pale with fright. Even the golden core cultivators in their sects were looking at the young man, standing with his hands behind his back in the air with fear in their eyes. They did not think that the young man had killed the golden core cultivator of the Xianin sect with a single blow because of carelessness. Just now, when the young man moved, his speed had already surpassed theirs. Moreover, the power of the attack displayed by the young man with the folding fan was so great that even if they attacked with all their strength, they wouldn't be able to display even half of its power. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. Although his true essence is only the silver-colored true essence of a silver core cultivator, its density is at least twice that of an ordinary silver core cultivator. It's equivalent to the power of 3 or more silver core cultivators perfectly fusing together. This in itself is already no weaker than a core formation cultivator. The power of a golden core cultivator's true essence is only slightly more than twice that of a silver core cultivator's true essence. That folding fan of his is definitely a spirit weapon. Furthermore, it's not an ordinary spirit weapon. At this moment, the golden core cultivators of the 4 major sects, including the golden core cultivator of the Divine Light sect, all looked at the folding fan in the young man's hands with heated gazes. However, that was all. Although their gazes were heated, they did not contain any greed. It was not that they did not want this folding fan, but they knew that even if they wanted it, they would not be able to, with the young man's power. If they dared to be greedy, they would end up like the golden core cultivator of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming. No, a scream filled with disbelief rang out. It was Chun Dandan who, after regaining her senses, sat paralyzed on the ground. She kept shaking her head, her eyes filled with disbelief. No, impossible. Impossible. How could he have such power? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I must be dreaming. I must be dreaming. Yes, I'm dreaming. I'm definitely dreaming. Chun Dandan sat paralyzed on the ground, looking at the glaring fresh blood all around her. Her entire body trembled uncontrollably. The fresh blood continuously attacked her pupils, causing her to feel as if her heart was about to explode. Did she really think that she was dreaming? No. When she saw Zhou Donghuang standing in the air and becoming a primal core adept, she had already confirmed that she was not dreaming. Now, saying that she was dreaming was just her way of consoling herself. She was deeply afraid that she would not be able to take it and would be devastated or even die, just as the atmosphere at the scene became oppressive. Young man, I never thought that in just 3 short years, you would actually have the power to kill a late primal core elder of the Xianin sect. An old voice, full of energy and full of violence, rang out from afar. Although the voice was far away, it had a frightening, penetrating power. It passed through the air and reached the scene of the Feast of Ziyun, entering everyone's ears. Before the person arrived, the voice arrived first. Teacher. Hearing this voice, Chun Dandan, who had been paralyzed on the ground, suddenly stood up as if she had been injected with adrenaline, her face full of excitement. However, after a moment, the voices around her caused her to fall back to the ground. Chun Dandan called the owner of this voice teacher, the other golden essence adept of the Xianin sect, the strongest in the Xianin sect, Zhongya. This young man could even kill the golden essence adept of the Xianin sect, Qi Ming. Even if Zhongya's power is stronger than Qi Ming, he can't be that much stronger, right? He can't possibly be a match for this young man. This young man's power, even if he's not as strong as a Dharma adept, is definitely enough to crush anyone below that level, including the people of the 4 great sects of Ziyun, as well as the surviving Khanate adepts of the Xianin sect. No one present felt that the golden essence adept of the Xianin sect, Zhongya, had the ability to defeat Zhou Donghuang. Even Chun Dandan felt the same way. Whoosh, whoosh. In the quiet environment of the Feast of Ziyun, when the gray figure appeared, the sound was exceptionally loud, and his robes fluttered in the wind. The owner of the gray figure was an old man dressed in a long gray robe. Zhou Dongwang recognized him at first glance. It was the golden essence adept who had appeared in the Valley of the Medicine Masters 3 years ago, the elder of the Xianin sect, Zhongya. When he realized that Zhongya looked much younger than he had 3 years ago, Zhou Dongwang was stunned for a moment before regaining his composure. His eyes flashed a few times. Young man, 3 years ago, I was afraid that killing you would affect my progress to the Dharma stage, so I did not kill you. I never thought that 3 years later, you would dare to come knocking on my door. Zhongya looked at Zhou Donghuang coldly, and his tone was emotionless. Since you are here, you can leave your life here. Teacher. Almost as soon as Zhongya finished speaking, Chun Dandan hurriedly shouted, Leave quickly! Leave quickly! Uncle Master Qi Ming, the sect leader, and Big Brother have all been killed by him. When you reach the Dharma stage, it won't be too late to kill Zhou Dongwang to avenge them. Now, Chun Dandan could only hope that her teacher would leave quickly and wait until he reached the Dharma stage to seek revenge on Zhou Dongwang. Based on the strength that Zhou Dongwang had displayed today, if her teacher reached the Dharma stage, he would definitely not be a match for Zhou Dongwang. Whoosh! Hearing Chun Dandan's words, Zhongya's expression changed. At the same time, he looked down and saw that on the high platform of the Feast of Ziyun, other than his disciple Chun Dandan, who was sitting there paralyzed, there were more than 10 other corpses. These corpses were either headless bodies or heads that had been separated from a body. Among them was his senior disciple, the head elder of the Xianin sect, by Shirtang, and his junior, the Xianin sect's grand elder Qi Ming, as well as the Xianin sect leader, Lu Yi. Qi Ming? Regarding the deaths of Bai Shirtang and Lu Yi, Zhongya only felt anger. However, Qi Ming's death was unbelievable to him. Qi Ming was a golden essence adept after all. But now he had died here? When Zhongya looked at Zhou Dongwang, who was standing not too far away from him, his eyes were filled with disbelief. You're just a late primal core adept, and yet you're able to kill a golden essence adept? Zhou Dongwang looked at Zhongya calmly and said casually, 3 years ago, I told you, Zhongya took Chun Dandan away, which means that you brought the entire Xianin sect with you, Zhou Dongwang. Today I, Zhou Dongwang, am here to end this. As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, everyone present realized that the reason why the young man in white had appeared here and killed the people of the Xianin sect was all because of Chun Dandan. Femme fatale. At this moment, when many people looked at Chun Dandan again, this thought popped into their minds. Zhongya laughed without warning, and his laughter grew louder and louder. After a while, under the shocked gazes of the crowd, he stopped laughing. After he stopped laughing, Zhongya's gaze was like lightning as he laughed coldly. Young man, if you had made your move 3 days ago, you might have been able to kill me, destroy the Xianin sect, and end your so-called karma. But you waited until today to make your move. You are destined to be dreaming. As soon as Zhongya finished speaking, a strong aura swept out from Zhongya's body, followed by a black force that howled out from his body. In the blink of an eye, a 10-foot-tall shadow rose from Zhongya's body. It was the shadow of a black raven, the size of a small hill. It stood upright in the air. Around this tall, black crow shadow, there seemed to be a black halo that flowed like water, emitting waves of terrifying aura. Although they were far away, many of the spectators who were of a lower level of training could still feel the pressure of this aura, causing their faces to turn red, and some of them even began to bleed from their orifices. This is Dharma power? Many people's eyes narrowed. End of this chapter. Chapter 203. No wonder I felt that something was wrong just now. Senior Zhongya of the Xianin sect, as a golden essence adept. Why is there no golden inner yuan surrounding him when he stands in the air? It turns out that he has already entered the Dharma stage. An elder of the 1,000-year sect sighed and said, the Dharma stage returns to its natural state, and the inner yuan becomes formless. Dharma. Our planet of Ziyun has produced a third Dharma adept. At this moment, other than the group of Xianin sect members who were overjoyed, the members of the other 4 sects had complicated looks on their faces. The first Dharma adept in the history of the planet of Ziyun was from the Xianin sect. This was something that the other four sects did not want to see. That year, the first Dharma adept in the history of the planet of Ziyun was from the Tianwu sect. At that time, the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect wanted to destroy the other four sects before he left the planet of Ziyun, so that the Tianwu sect could unify the planet of Ziyun. As the only Dharma adept in the planet of Ziyun, the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect was invincible in the planet of Ziyun. However, in the end, the other four sects joined forces, causing the Tianwu sect to hesitate and not dare to destroy them. At that time, the four sects had made a statement. If the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect dared to attack again, the primal core adepts of the four sects would abandon their sects, leave the planet of Ziyun, and escape into the stars to seek revenge and slaughter the elders and disciples of the Tianwu sect. So what if the Tianwu sect had a Dharma adept? Could it be that the group of elders and disciples of the Tianwu sect could hide in the Tianwu sect forever and be protected by the Dharma adept? If anyone came out, we would kill them. With the determination of the four sects, the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect finally gave up on the idea of destroying the other four sects and unifying the planet of Ziyun. Furthermore, the Dharma adept of the Tianwu sect was determined to leave the planet of Ziyun. Naturally, he could not leave any hidden dangers for the Tianwu sect before he left. Therefore, when the Xinguang sect had the second Dharma adept in the history of the planet of Ziyun, although the other four sects were wary, they did not panic, because they knew that the Xinguang sect would not dare to act recklessly, just like the Tianwu sect. Go! Go! The Golden Essence adepts of the Divine Light sect, the Thousand-Year sect, the Tianwu sect, and the Shuasha sect, who were seated in the spectator stands, flew up one after another and flew off in different directions at an extremely fast speed. The reason why the Golden Essence adepts of the four main sects had left was because they were worried that they would be killed by the Xianin sect's elder Zhongya, who had already entered the Dharma stage. On top of that, they had to pass on the news of Zhongya's breakthrough back to their respective sects, as well as make preparations to guard against Zhongya. This was to prevent Zhongya from destroying their sects one by one in the future. The other members of the four sects, led by their respective sect masters, stayed to watch the show. As long as the Golden Essence adepts left, even if Zhongya had already entered the Dharma stage, he would not dare to touch them. Zhongya naturally saw the Golden Essence adepts of the four major sects leaving, and he could guess what they were thinking. However, he did not stop them, although if he tried to stop them, he could kill all four Golden Core cultivators in one fell swoop. However, if he did that, the white-clothed young man would definitely be able to escape. Once the young man escaped and made a comeback in the future, it would be the doomsday of the Xianin sect. In 3 years' time, the early Khanate adept, who was like an ant in his eyes, had not only entered the late primal core stage and became a silver essence adept, he even had the ability to kill the golden essence adept of the Xianin sect, Qiming. Such an existence was too much of a threat to the Xianin sect. Therefore, he could only watch as the golden essence adepts of the four major sects left and escaped. That is Dharma? At the same time, a group of people who had been shocked by the Dharma that had appeared on Zhongya's body recovered one after another, and a look of shock appeared on their faces. Dharma adept. To them, this was a legendary existence, and today they had personally witnessed a Dharma adept reveal his Dharma. I really did not expect that there would be so many surprises at the Feast of Ziyun this time. First, a young man appeared out of nowhere and killed the 8 primal core adepts led by the Golden Essence adept of the Xianin sect within 2 breaths. Then, Elder Zhongyu of the Xianin sect appeared and revealed his Dharma power. The Golden Essence adepts of the 4 major sects all took the opportunity to escape. It looks like they were also worried that Elder Zhongyu, who had entered the Dharma stage, would attack them. I originally thought that even if Elder Zhongyu came, it would be useless, but I did not expect him to already be a Dharma adept. Now, it looks like the unlucky one is not Elder Zhongyu, but this young man. He probably did not even dream that Elder Zhongyu had already entered the Dharma stage. From what Elder Zhongyu said, he must have just entered the Dharma stage 2 days ago. The onlookers all stared at Zhongyu with sparkling eyes, their faces filled with excitement at the same time. Dharma adept. If it had been in the past, they would not have dared to dream that they would one day be able to see a Dharma adept. Not only would they be able to brag about it for the rest of their lives, but they could also let their descendants continue to brag about it. Our ancestors had once seen a Dharma adept with their own eyes. Teacher has become a Dharma adept. Chun Dandan regained her composure and stood up once again. This time, her snake-like waist was straight as she stared at Zhongya with shining eyes. At the same time, she bowed and congratulated him. Congratulations, teacher, for achieving your wish and entering the Dharma stage. It was obvious that Chun Dandan did not know that Zhongya had entered the Dharma stage beforehand. Zhongya looked at Chun Dandan with a gentle gaze. For him to be able to enter the Dharma stage, his disciple was the main reason. Just as he had said 3 years ago when he came to the Valley of the Medicine Masters, he wanted to enter the Dharma stage, and he needed to have a clear mind. If he wanted to save Chun Dandan's life and take her as his disciple, he had to do it. The more clear his mind was, the higher his chances of entering the Dharma stage. 2 days ago, he had successfully entered the Dharma stage, and his lifespan had been extended by 300 years. Hence, he looked much younger than before. Now, he could live for another 300 years. After breaking through 2 days ago, Zhongya had stayed in his room to adapt to his new training. Only today, when a late primal core elder of the Xianin sect hurriedly came to find him to pass on a message to Zhou Dongwang, did he come out. As soon as he came out, he came straight here. Zhou Dongwang. When she looked at the young man dressed in white again, Chun Dandan's eyes lit up as if she had been reborn. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. You probably never dreamed that my teacher, Ancestor Zhongya, had already entered the Dharma stage, right? I have to admit that your level of training is astonishing, and it can even be said to be nature-defying. Now that you are so strong, it is difficult to find a match for anyone below the Dharma stage. But it is a pity that you are unlucky to have met a teacher who has already become a Dharma adept. As she spoke, Chun Dandan looked at Zhongya again. Teacher, since you have already entered the Dharma stage, there is no need to think that lowering your status to kill Zhou Dongwang will affect your desire to enter the Dharma stage. Zhongya said calmly, even if I have not entered the Dharma stage, with his current strength, even if I wanted to kill him, it would not affect my desire to enter the Dharma stage. Of course, if I had not entered the Dharma stage, I would definitely not be a match for him now. When Zhongya looked at Zhou Dongwang again, he smiled sinisterly. Kid, didn't you want to end the karma between me and the Xianin sect? Come on. I want to see how a special silver essence adept like you, who can kill a golden essence adept, can fight against a Dharma adept like me. As he spoke, Zhongya's eyes were filled with mockery and disdain. Who would have thought that you would actually enter the Dharma stage? Zhou Dongwang looked at Zhongya, his eyes calm and his face expressionless. When Zhongya had first appeared, Zhou Dongwang had already noticed that there was no golden inner yuan surrounding Zhongya's body. Coupled with Zhongya's youthful appearance, it was not difficult to guess that Zhongya had already entered the Dharma stage and become a Dharma adept. As the saying goes, the higher you stand, the harder you fall. By saving Chun Dandan and entering the Dharma stage, you, Zhongya, have lived for another 3 years. If you had not saved Chun Dandan, even if you had no hope of entering the Dharma stage from today onwards, you, Zhongya, will have lived for a few more years. Zhou Dongwang shook his head lightly. What a pity, what a pity. But then again, a few years of your life in exchange for a few days of training in the Dharma stage is worth it for you. Following Zhou Dongwang's words, Zhongya and Chun Dandan were stunned, and the entire crowd once again fell silent. Zhou Dongwang's words could be understood by anyone who was not a fool. What he meant was, even if Zhongya had entered the Dharma stage, he would definitely die today. Zhongya is already a Dharma adept. Does he really have the confidence to kill Zhongya? After seeing Zhongya's Dharma power, the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin, felt that Zhou Dongwang was doomed. But now, Zhou Dongwang's attitude had shaken his confidence. Could Zhou Dongwang really kill Zhongya, who was already a Dharma adept? Is he crazy? Although his abilities are not bad, the difference between a primal core adept and a Dharma adept is like a chasm. To kill a Dharma adept who is a whole stage above him, I'm afraid he's still dreaming. Idiot! Upon hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the leaders of the Thousand-Year Sect, Tianwu Sect, and Shuisha Sect all shook their heads as they spoke. This was especially so for the leaders of the Thousand-Year Sect and Shuisha Sect. They looked at Zhou Donghuang as if they were looking at a madman, a fool, and an idiot. Brother. Yin Lu stood on the back of the golden-crowned eagle, Little Gold. The gloominess on her face had been swept away, and her eyes were shining. Just now, when she saw Zhongya's Dharma power, she had been worried that her brother would not be a match for Zhongya. Now, hearing her brother's confident words, she was not worried at all. Crazy. Even Little Gold could not believe that his young master was not even afraid of a Dharma adept. As for the spectators, they did not think that the young man had a chance of winning either. After all, the young man was facing the third Dharma adept in the history of Ziyun in the past 1,000 years. End of this chapter. Chapter 204. Zhou Donghuang, you're already at death's door, and you still dare to boast. Chun Dandan laughed coldly after regaining her composure. She did not think that Zhou Donghuang would be able to defeat her teacher, Zhongya. If her teacher, Zhongya, was still the golden essence adept of the past, she did not think that her teacher, Zhongya, would be a match for Zhou Donghuang, based on the way that Zhou Donghuang had killed the other golden essence adept of the Xianyin sect, Qiming. However, Zhongya was now a Dharma adept. The power of a Dharma adept was not something that a primal core adept could compare to. In front of a Dharma adept, a golden essence adept was not much different from an early primal core adept. They could be easily killed. Rascal, do you really think that, just because you kill my junior brother, Qiming, you can fight me? Zhongya looked at Zhou Donghuang with a mocking smile. Then he took a step forward, and the 3-meter-tall black raven that rose from his body also flapped its wings. Instantly, whoosh, whoosh, as the black raven flapped its wings, a strong gust of wind rose in the feast of Ziyun. Some of the onlookers with lower levels of practice were even blown back by the strong wind. In the air, many flying beasts were also blown away by the wind. As for Zhou Donghuang, his robe was also blown by the wind, like a white flame was burning. Today I will show you the power of the third Dharma adept in the history of Ziyun. As soon as Zhongya finished speaking, his entire body flew forward. When the crowd heard Zhongya's words, they could not take their eyes off him. More accurately, they were looking at the 3-meter-tall black raven that had risen from Zhongya's body. A 3-meter-tall Dharma was the symbol of an early Dharma adept. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhongya flew forward, and the black raven on his body flapped its wings. As if it had turned into a flash of light, it flew towards Zhou Donghuang. Is this the power of a Dharma adept? The power of a Dharma adept is above the Dharma formed from inner yuan. Even the Dharma formed by an early Dharma adept can easily defeat the golden inner yuan of a golden essence adept. This Zhou Donghuang is going to be unlucky. The black raven Dharma power flew out and swooped down majestically. Its huge body blocked out the sun as it followed Zhongya to attack Zhou Donghuang. Most of the onlookers looked at Zhou Donghuang with pity in their eyes. In their eyes, although Zhou Donghuang's abilities were not bad, he was definitely no match for Zhongya. Die! Die! Chun Dandan had a crazed look in her eyes as she laughed coldly in her heart. Zhou Donghuang, when you die, I will return to the 16 countries of the East Valley, kill your mother, and send her to reunite with you. The group of Xiantian cultivators from the Xianyin sect who had survived were all gloating at the scene before them. If you, Zhongya, were one of those supreme sects or star clans with my current abilities, I would naturally be no match for you. It's a pity that you, Zhongya, are merely a Dharma adept from a low-level training planet. You simply cannot unleash the true battle power of a Dharma adept. Faced with the menacing Zhongya, Zhou Donghuang laughed in disdain. In the next moment, he raised his hand, and the 18 blades of the fan in his hand instantly separated. Silver light surrounded his body, as if 18 dragons were swimming around the 18 blades of the fan. Today I, Zhou Dongwang, will make you, Zhongya, the shortest living Dharma adept in the history of the Ziyun planet. Zhou Dongwang's voice was indifferent as he spoke. With a shake of his body, the 18 blades of the fan in front of him instantly transformed into 18 arrows that shot towards Zhongya. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. As the 18 blades of the fan flew through the air, it was as if they had transformed into 18 rays of light that carried an awe-inspiring aura as they rushed towards the Black Crow Dharma power. What a strong inner yuan! As soon as Zhou Dongwang made his move, Zhongya realized how terrifying his inner yuan was. Compared to before he had become a Dharma adept, his inner yuan was at least twice as strong. Luckily, I had become a Dharma adept. Otherwise, I would definitely die today. Zhongya secretly rejoiced. He is just a silver essence adept. How can he have such great power? The fan in his hand seems to have doubled his inner yuan. Is it an ultimate primal core spirit weapon? As he guessed that the fan in Zhou Dongwang's hand was an ultimate primal core spirit weapon, Zhongya's heart skipped a beat. This was too shocking for him. Young lad, I did not expect your inner yuan to be this strong. However, this level of inner yuan is not enough to go against me, a Dharma adept. Taking a deep breath, Zhongya temporarily suppressed the shock in his heart as he looked at Zhou Dongwang, who was approaching him along with the 18 blades of the fan. Is that so? Zhou Dongwang laughed lightly. With a shake of his body, his entire person was like a ghost as he dashed forward. In the blink of an eye, he had brushed past the 18 blades of the fan. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. As the 18 blades of the fan brushed past Zhou Dongwang, not only did the silver light on their bodies increase, but most of the blades even changed their direction of travel. In the blink of an eye, the 18 wings of the fan surrounded Zhongya from all directions. Then, they whizzed towards Zhongya like 18 silver meteors in the starry sky, attacking a planet from all angles. What an unnecessary move. Zhongya sneered in disdain. Do you think that your attack can deal with the Dharma formed by my vital energy? As soon as Zhongya finished speaking, the Black Raven Dharma power on his body let out a shrill and ear-piercing shriek. The sound waves swept out and instantly ruptured the eardrums of the Khanate adepts present. The chi-gathering adepts who were closer to it started bleeding from their orifices, and some of them even fell to the ground and died. Seeing this, the expressions of the people present changed. Boom! Kaboom! The aura of the Black Raven Dharma power exploded, and the rolling waves of air spread out in all directions. Like a shockwave, it destroyed the high stage of the Feast of Ziyun. Chun Dandan, who was still on the high stage, was thrown into the air and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, with a look of fear on her face, she tried to escape. Run! Get away from me! Don't get caught in the crossfire. Apart from the people of the four main sects who were still in the spectator stands, the rest of the people quickly left the Feast of Ziyun. Although the people of the four main sects did not leave, a group of primal core adepts also made their moves. Their inner yuan swept out and formed a layer of defense to protect the Khanate adepts of their own sections. After all, it was only the remnant power of the Black Raven Dharma power, and their inner yuan was barely enough to withstand it. Is this the power of a Dharma adept? That Zhou Dongwang is dead meat. Chun Dandan ran to watch from afar. Although she was in a sorry state, when she looked up again, she was still excited, as if she could already see the scene of Zhou Dongwang dying at the hands of Zhongya. Dharma adepts, after forming their Dharma power, need to refine their Dharma power so that it does not have any flaws. As the 18 blades of the fan turned into a sword-like attack and landed on the body of the Black Raven Dharma power, Zhou Donghuang's calm voice instantly rang out. If I'm not wrong, not only have you not refined your Dharma power, but you have also not confirmed the flaws of your Dharma power, right? As soon as Zhou Donghuang's words reached Zhongya's ears, Zhongya furrowed his eyebrows for a moment before relaxing them again. He laughed coldly and said, "Young man, you don't have to lie to me. If my Dharma power has any flaws, you can attack it." Zhongya obviously did not believe Zhou Donghuang's words. Bang! Bang! At the same time, Zhou Donghuang's fan split apart, and the 18 blades of the fan, carrying with them a strong silver inner yuan, all landed on the body of the Black Raven Dharma power on Zhongya's body. This wave of attacks was easily blocked by the Black Raven Dharma power with a flap of its wings. As for the remaining 6 rays of silver light, they landed on the body of the Black Raven Dharma power. 4 of them did not cause any damage to the Black Raven Dharma power, but the other 2, once they landed on the body of the Black Raven Dharma power, caused it to let out a shrill cry. Not good. As soon as he heard the cry of the Black Raven Dharma power, Zhongya felt a rebounding force from the Black Raven Dharma power back into his body, causing the blood in his body to churn. A moment later, his internal organs were shaken to the point where they trembled. Wah! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the Black Raven Dharma power had been reduced from a height of 10 feet to a height of 5 feet. Zhongya also spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned as white as a sheet. His entire body seemed to have aged in that instant. What a disgrace to the Dharma adepts. As Zhongya spat out blood and was injured, Zhou Donghuang had already arrived near Zhongya. With a wave of his hand, the 18 blades of the fan returned to his hand and reformed into a fan. I thought that would be good enough if I could hit one of your Dharma power's weaknesses. I never thought that I would hit 2 of them. Weak. Too weak. The silver flames on Zhou Donghuang's body exploded, and in an instant, it was as if he had transformed into a ball of silver flames that flew towards the heavily injured Zhongya. With only the 5-foot-tall Black Raven Dharma power left, Zhou Donghuang was not afraid even if he were to face it head-on. How is this possible? Zhongya had never dreamed that in the first round of battle, he would be severely injured by his opponent. Furthermore, his opponent's attacks were far weaker than his Dharma powers. Could it be that my Dharma power really has a weakness? As he thought about this, Zhongya realized that Zhou Donghuang was once again charging towards him. This time, he was no longer relying on the spirit weapon in his hand, but was directly wielding it. Even if I am injured, I can still use half of my full strength. It is more than enough to kill you. Zhongya's face turned cold, and the 5-foot-tall Black Raven Dharma power on his body retracted. Around his body, a layer of black light formed, like a layer of black armor. Dharma armor. This was also a technique used by Dharma adepts. It allowed their Dharma power to form a layer of defense around their body, and it could also allow the inner yuan within their body to break out of their body at the fastest speed possible. Of course, most Dharma adepts would use their Dharma power to crush their opponents with brute force. Very few people would use Dharma armor. However, Zhou Donghuang's technique had frightened Zhongya, and he was deeply afraid that Zhou Donghuang would once again attack the weakness of his Dharma power. End of this chapter. Chapter 205. Whoosh! Zhongya's entire body was surrounded by a black glow, and his inner yuan burst out of his body like a black flame. It was as if he had transformed into a majestic demon god. Then, facing the oncoming Zhou Donghuang, Zhongya's hands trembled. His left hand struck out, and his right hand struck out like a knife. It was as if he wanted to kill Zhou Donghuang after he had forced him back. Do you think that by transforming your Dharma power into armor, you can cover up the weakness of your Dharma power? Facing the oncoming Zhongya, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a mocking smile. Then, the hand that was holding the fan shook violently, and the fan flew out of his hand. Whoosh! The fan flew through the air and almost brushed past Zhongya's left palm, causing Zhongya's palm to miss. At the same time, Zhou Donghuang's body also brushed past Zhongya's palm, and at the same time, he reached out his hand and grabbed the fan back. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Even Zhongya himself did not expect Zhou Donghuang to be able to react in such a short period of time and dodge his left palm. His left palm was aimed at the wrist of Zhou Donghuang's hand that was holding the folding fan, not at the folding fan. What a terrifying reaction speed! Zhongya's heart trembled. This was the first time he had met such a terrifying person. It was as if Zhou Donghuang was always able to predict his opponent's movements and gain the upper hand. It was as if he was not fighting with a 20-year-old youth, but an old monster who had been through hundreds of battles. But so what if he dodged my palm? My palm blade can easily stop him. Zhongya's right palm blade whistled through the air, forming a long and narrow black blade that slashed toward Zhou Donghuang's waist. The sound of the blade was ear-piercing, and it struck fear into everyone's hearts. If he doesn't dodge, he will definitely die. Zhongya's eyes narrowed, and his face revealed a hint of madness. As for me, at most, I will suffer some light injuries. Just as the black blade was about to split Zhou Donghuang's body into two, at the critical moment, the lower half of Zhou Donghuang's body shone with a silver light, and the lower half of his body strangely folded together with his upper body. It was as if he had no bones and could be folded at will. This had completely overturned Zhongya's and everyone else's understanding of the human body. The human body could be used like this? Buzz. Zhongya's right hand was like a knife, and after his left hand had missed, his palm also missed. How was this possible? Seeing how Zhou Donghuang had evaded his confident strike, Zhongya's expression changed, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. At the same time, he hurriedly mobilized the remaining energy in his body, wanting to launch another attack. However, at this moment, the lower half of Zhou Donghuang's body, which had been folded from the waist down, straightened up, and his entire body borrowed the force of the straightening and shot towards Zhongya like an arrow released from a bow. Not good. Hurriedly, Zhongya activated the remaining true origin in his body with all his might, turning it into a hole, causing the black armor on the surface of his body to become darker and darker. Buzz. Faced with Zhou Donghuang's folding fan, Zhongya could feel the silver light emanating from the folding fan. Zhongya clasped his hands together and pushed them out, as if intending to forcefully block Zhou Donghuang's attack. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Zhou Donghuang's folding fan flew through the air, bringing with it a sharp silver light. It met with Zhongya's clasped hands and was blocked. Young man, the power of a Dharma adept is far beyond your imagination. After blocking Zhou Donghuang's attack, Zhongya grinned and said, "Next, I will give you a quick death. To be able to become the first revenant that I, Zhongya, have ever killed after becoming a Dharma adept, you will not have wasted your life." At this moment, Zhongya seemed to have won. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang sneered, and, at the same time, his right hand, which was holding onto the folding fan, shook violently. In that instant, Zhongya's heart had a bad premonition. With a shake of his hands, he tried to grab the folding fan in Zhou Donghuang's hands. However, the folding fan in Zhou Donghuang's hands was like a loach, slippery and slippery. No matter how hard Zhongya tried to grab it, it easily escaped from Zhongya's hands. No, almost at the same time that the folding fan escaped from Zhongya's hands, Zhongya seemed to realize something. His face changed, and at the same time, he let out a pained scream. Whoosh! The folding fan that escaped from Zhongya's hands was like a wild beast that had escaped from its cage. It was like a fish in the sea, a bird in the sky, and a silver light flashed in the air. Whoosh! Fresh blood splattered everywhere. Whoosh! A head flew into the sky. Zhongya had followed in the footsteps of the primal core adepts of the Xianin sect who had died at the hands of Zhou Donghuang. On the 10th of October, 1233 of the Ziyun era, after 3 years, Zhou Donghuang, at the Feast of Ziyun, killed the Xianin sect elder, Zhongya, who had already entered the Dharma stage, in front of all the guests of the Ziyun planet. This was to settle the karma that Zhongya had formed with Zhou Donghuang in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Because of this, Zhongya became the shortest-lived Dharma adept in the history of the Ziyun planet. He had not even entered the Dharma stage for 3 days, and he was already killed. The battle between Zhou Donghuang and Zhongya was extremely fast. Everyone present either did not see it clearly, or they did not dare to be distracted, afraid that they would miss out on any exciting scenes. Hence, from the start of the battle until the end, the entire Feast of Ziyun was extremely quiet. Seeing Zhongya's head fly into the sky, he had been killed. Although the entire crowd remained silent, the sound of Zhongya's body hitting the ground still caused their hearts to tremble. The third Dharma adept in the history of the Ziyun planet in the past 1,000 years had died, just like that? No, impossible. Impossible. Among the crowd of people who had been shocked by Zhong Yu's death, Chun Dandan was the first to regain her senses. Her face was filled with shock and disbelief, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Brother has won. On the back of the golden-crowned eagle, Little Gold, Yin Lu's face was flushed with excitement, and Little Gold's eyes were also filled with excitement. So what if he was a Dharma adept? He had still been killed by its young master, Chun Dandan. It was only when Zhou Donghuang's voice rang out again that the crowd of people present finally regained their senses. They all gasped, and the way they looked at Zhou Donghuang was completely different. Other than fear, there was only fear. Although this young man in snow-white robes was only a silver core cultivator, his strength had already reached a shocking level. Golden Essence adepts could be easily killed by him. Dharma adepts could also be easily killed by him. Who is he? Where did this demon come from? Is this demon really from the Ziyun planet? As the crowd of people looked at Zhou Donghuang in fear, Zhou Donghuang had already stepped into the air above where Chun Dandan was. He looked down at Chun Dandan, his face expressionless. When Zhou Donghuang stared at Chun Dandan, the crowd of people who were originally standing beside Chun Dandan were all frightened and scattering in all directions. They kept their distance from Chun Dandan, afraid that they would be implicated. Zhou Donghuang. Looking up at the young man in white before her, Chun Dandan's face was filled with despair. She had never thought that even with the Xianin sect as her backing, she would still not be able to defeat him in the end. The martial invalid of the past was now standing at the pinnacle of the Ziyun planet. She was very clear. After today's battle, the young man before her had already reached the pinnacle of the Ziyun planet. Even the other 4 sects of the Ziyun planet could only bow to him and not dare to offend him. Did she regret it? Of course she did. If she had not betrayed her adoptive mother and the person before her because of her own selfish desires, she might have already been married to him under her adoptive mother's orders. And she, Chun Dandan, could have relied on the glory of the person before her to become the most powerful person in the entire Ziyun planet. Unfortunately, one wrong step led to many wrong steps. I've already said what I have to say 3 years ago. I've already asked what I have to ask 3 years ago. Zhou Donghuang looked down at Chun Dandan, his lips curling in a mocking smile. Before you die, do you have anything to say, Chun Dandan? Chun Dandan took a deep breath. Winner takes all. I have nothing to say. 3 years ago, Chun Dandan knew that the person before her would not let her off. He would definitely kill her. So today, although she really wanted to live, even if it was just to live, she knew that the other party would not give her a chance. She would die standing, and she would die kneeling. Why shouldn't she die standing? Since that is the case, you may go. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the silver flames on Zhou Donghuang's body left his body and formed a huge palm print in the air, crashing down on Chun Dandan's head. Bang! A loud sound rang out. The ground shook and dust filled the air. The crowd felt their scalps go numb. When the dust settled, a huge palm print appeared where Chun Dandan had been standing. Within the palm print, there was blood everywhere, as well as some remnants of her dress and hair. Chun Dandan, who should have died in the Valley of the Medicine Masters 3 years ago, had finally died after living for 3 more years. However, 3 years later, there were many more people who had died with Chun Dandan. After Chun Dandan's death, the crowd was still silent. Everyone present looked up at the white figure in the air, not daring to breathe too loudly. They were deeply afraid that if they opened their mouths and broke the silence, they would anger the other party. Lord Tuajin, Zhou Donghuang, turned around and looked at the middle-aged monk sitting in the first row of the audience where the people of the Divine Light sect were. He said calmly, "What do you think?" As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, everyone present could not make heads or tails of his words. The Divine Light sect will obey Lord Donghuang's orders. Almost as soon as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, the Divine Light sect leader, Tuajin, immediately stood up and bowed respectfully in response. The next moment, under the confused gazes of the crowd, Tujin gave the order, and the few golden essence adepts of the Divine Light sect rushed towards the remaining Khanate adepts of the Xianin sect. Like wolves entering a flock of sheep, in the blink of an eye, the Khanate adepts of the Xianin sect were all killed. This scene also stunned everyone present. End of this chapter. Chapter 206. The leader of the Divine Light sect, Tuajin, had ordered the Divine Light sect to kill the Xianin sect disciples. This was something that no one present had expected, and it made them even more confused. How had the people of the Divine Light sect suddenly become the pawns of this young man in white? Leader Tuajin. After the primal core adepts of the Divine Light sect had killed all the Khanate adepts of the Xianin sect like wolves in a flock of sheep, Zhou Dongwang greeted the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tuajin. At the same time, his gaze swept across the spectator stands where the Qianxiu sect, the Shueisha sect, and the Tianwu sect were seated. Just now, someone seemed to have spoken rudely to me. As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, the faces of the leaders of the three sects changed. Just as the leaders of the three major sects rose from their seats and were about to apologize, Zhou Dongwang spoke first. Each of the three sects will compensate me 100,000 spirit stones as compensation for the psychological damage I have suffered. I want to see the spirit stones before 1234 of the Xian era. If any of the sects do not cooperate, Leader Tuajin, please let me know. I, Zhou Dongwang, will personally go and collect them. I will also find their golden essence adepts to spar with. As soon as he said this, a cold light flashed in Zhou Donghuang's eyes, causing the faces of the leaders of the three sects to change. 100,000 spirit stones? Furthermore, if the three sects did not cooperate, this young man would personally come to them, find a golden essence adept to spar with? The Xianin sect's golden essence adept, Qi Ming, had been killed in an instant, and he had even killed a Dharma adept. The golden essence adepts of the three sects were definitely no match for him. Spar? Who would believe that? He was clearly threatening them. If they dared not pay the spirit stones, he would kill the golden essence adepts of the sects behind them as interest. Yes, Lord Dongwang, Tuajin hurriedly replied as he looked at the leaders of the three sections. 3 leaders, when you return, bring the spirit stones to the Divine Light sect. Remember, send them before 1234 of the Xian era. Tuajin reminded them intentionally. At the same time, Tuajin was somewhat relieved. Fortunately, the Divine Light sect had long known how terrifying the young man before them was. Otherwise, it would not only be the 3 sects who would be in trouble, but the Divine Light sect as well. My lord, Hu Qingshua, the sect leader of the Shueisha sect, looked at Zhou Dongwang with an ugly expression. He spoke first. Just now, my words offended you. I can apologize and compensate you with some spirit stones. But isn't 100,000 spirit stones too much? As he spoke, Hu Qingshua could not help but reveal some anger in his tone. He felt that the actions of the person before him were no different from extortion. At the same time, both the Thousand-Year sect leader and the Tianwu sect leader looked at Zhou Dongwang. Hu Qingshua, the sect master of Blood Fiend sect, voiced their thoughts. Too many. Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed, and he turned around lazily. He looked at Hu Qingshua and said, 200,000 spirit stones. As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, the entire place fell silent again. Everyone looked at Zhou Dongwang as if they had seen a ghost, feeling that this young man was too ruthless. Sir, you must be joking, right? Hu Qingshua was so angry that his face was red. He suppressed his anger and asked in a low voice. The entire spirit stone storage of the Shueisha sect only added up to a little more than 200,000 spirit stones. The young man before him was asking for an exorbitant amount of spirit stones that the Shueisha sect had accumulated for thousands of years. At the same time, the other people of the Shueisha sect also looked at Zhou Dongwang angrily. They had never imagined that this young man would be so overboard. 200,000 spirit stones? Why didn't he just rob them? This time, Zhou Donghuang's response to Hu Qingshua was a casual palm strike. Bang! The solid palm print was not as fancy as when he had killed Qindandan. When it landed on Hu Qingshua's body, It was like a heavy pile driver falling on his head. He was directly smashed into the hard ground and turned into a pile of meat paste. He was as dead as he could be. The dignified sect leader of the Shueisha sect, a late primal core adept, had died just like that. The expressions of the remaining people of the Shueisha sect changed drastically, and they became even more furious. However, they all lowered their heads, not daring to look up. What a joke! What if Zhou Dongwang killed them in a fit of rage? Although the crowd of onlookers from all over Xi'an were not from the three main sects, they could not help but feel their scalps go numb. They only felt that the young man in white before them was too overbearing. Of course, they all knew in their hearts. This young man had the ability to be overbearing. When we return to the Shueisha sect, tell the person who can make the decision. 200,000 spirit stones, not a single one less. Zhou Dongwang swept his gaze over the people of the Shueisha sect and the Tianwu sect as he spoke. When Zhou Donghuang's gaze once again swept over the leaders of the Qinxiu sect and the Tianwu sect, the two of them hurriedly bowed and lowered their heads. My lord, we will personally deliver 100,000 spirit stones to the Divine Light sect when we return. Zhou Dongwang nodded. Seeing that both of your sects have been cooperative, I will give each of your sects 2 spirit weapons. As he finished speaking, Zhou Dongwang casually tossed 2 swords and 2 knives to the leaders of the Qinxiu sect and the Tianwu sect as if he were throwing away trash. The 2 sect leaders each kept a knife and a sword. After testing the knives and swords in their hands, their eyes lit up. They looked at each other and saw the wild joy in each other's eyes. It's really a spirit weapon, the 2 of them said in unison. The resentment in their hearts was swept away in an instant, replaced by excitement. 100,000 spirit stones in exchange for 2 spirit weapons. They had made a profit. At this moment, not only did the people of the Qinxiu sect and the Tianwu sect think that they had made a profit, but the crowd of onlookers also felt that they had made a profit, and a big one at that. One had to know, before this, there were only 2 spirit weapons in the entire Xi'an planet. The people of the Shueisha sect were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Not only did their Shueisha sect not get a single spirit weapon, but they also had to pay 200,000 spirit stones. Now, they more or less had some resentment towards the dead Shueisha sect leader, Hu Qingshua. After all, it was precisely because Hu Qingshua had stood out that the Shueisha sect had suffered such a huge loss. Otherwise, not only would the Shueisha sect not have suffered a loss, they would have even made a profit. Leader Tuo Jin, lead the way. Zhou Dongwang returned to the golden-crowned eagle Little Gold's back. After returning to Yin Lu's side, he looked at the Divine Light sect leader Tuo Jin and asked him to lead the way to the Xianin sect. Yes, Tuo Jin replied. Before he moved, he looked at the leaders of the Qinxiu sect and the Tianwu sect. The 2 of you, the Divine Light sect, will follow Lord Dongwang to the Xianin sect. Will you come with us? Without waiting for a response, Tuo Jin led the group of primal core adepts from the Divine Light sect into the air and headed towards the Xianin sect. The golden-crowned eagle Little Gold also moved under the watchful eyes of the crowd, following closely behind the group of people from the Divine Light sect. After the leaders of the Qinxiu sect and the Tianwu sect regained their senses, they hurriedly brought their people to follow. Now, they had all guessed why Zhou Dongwang and the people from the Divine Light sect were going to the Xianin sect. After today, the Xianin sect will cease to exist. Because of the spirit weapons that Zhou Dongwang had given them, the people from the 2 sects were in a very good mood. They were also happy to help Zhou Dongwang and curry his favor. Therefore, when they reached the Xianin sect, Zhou Dongwang did not need to do anything himself. Zhou Dongwang directly found the secret storeroom of the Xianin sect and swept away all the spirit stones and valuable items that the Xianin sect had accumulated over the years. In fact, he didn't even have enough space rings. Fortunately, he had just killed a group of senior members of the Xianin sect and the Shueisha sect leader in Xianyan City and obtained their space rings, which were barely enough. Leader Tuo Jin, your Divine Light sect, already knew how terrifying Lord Dongwang was. Yi Wen, the leader of the Tianwu sect, asked after he and the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tuajin, had killed many elders of the Xianin sect. He felt that at the Feast of Ziyun, the people from the Divine Light sect had not spoken a word of disrespect to Zhou Dongwang. Furthermore, from the conversation between Zhou Dongwang and Tuajin, it was obvious that they had known each other for a long time and had even come to some kind of agreement. I already knew that Lord Dongwang had the ability to kill Golden Essence adepts, but I never imagined that he could even kill Dharma adepts. Tuajin sighed. If he had known that Zhou Dongwang had the ability to kill Zhongya, who had entered the Dharma stage, the Golden Essence Elder of the Divine Light sect, C.I. Xian, would not have needed to leave because he was afraid of Zhongya. Leader Tuajin, after the Xianin sect was destroyed, the Xianin sect base was left empty. It is a good place. There is a spirit stone mine below. Yi Wen's eyes flashed. Lord Dongwang, did you say what to do with the spirit stone mine? The spirit stone mine of the Xianin sect was even larger than the one of the Tianwu sect, and it produced more spirit stones every year. The Divine Light sect will move here, Tuajin said. Tuajin said, this will be the new base of the Divine Light sect. The Divine Light sect is moving here, and is moving the entire sect? Yi Wen's eyes widened. What about your original base? The Spirit Stone Mine on the Xinguang Peak, where the Divine Light sect used to be, was much larger than the one here. The original base? Tuajin smiled. That place will be left for Lord Dongwang. This was also the agreement that Zhou Dongwang had made with the Divine Light sect when he had gone to the Divine Light sect. The Divine Light sect would move away from the Xinguang Peak and change their base to the Xianin sects. For this, Zhou Dongwang had promised to forge a spirit weapon for every Divine Light sect adept of the late Primal Core stage and above. Because of this, both Tuajin, the leader of the Divine Light sect, and the rest of the senior members of the Divine Light sect were very satisfied with this deal. The destruction of the Xianin sect had been decided when Zhongya had taken Chun Dandan away 3 years ago. The karma that had been formed 3 years ago was finally resolved on this day. It looks like Lord Dongwang has given the Divine Light sect a lot of benefits. Seeing that Tuajin was not only not unhappy about the change of the Divine Light sect's base, but even seemed happy, it was not difficult for Yi Wen to guess. Into this chapter. Chapter 207. Big Brother, are you going to leave soon? In the sky above the Xianin sect, Yin Lu looked at Zhou Dongwang from the back of the golden-crowned eagle, Little Gold. Her face was unusually serious. Zhou Dongwang smiled dotingly and stroked Yin Lu's hair. After I bring Mother to the Xinguang Peak and prepare everything, I will leave. Zhou Dongwang had already mentioned to Yin Lu that he was going to leave Ziyun, and now that Yin Lu had asked him about it, he did not hide it. Big Brother, will you come back? Yin Lu asked again. Of course. Zhou Dongwang nodded confidently. I will miss you. When I come back, I will definitely bring you something good. I don't want anything good. I just hope that you will come back often. Yin Lu said seriously. Good. Zhou Dongwang smiled as he glanced at the Xianin sect. There were swords everywhere, and the battle was completely one-sided. There was no doubt about the outcome. The strongest people in the Xianin sect had already been killed by him at the Feast of Ziyun. Even the strongest of those who had stayed behind to guard the Xianin sect camp were no match for the Divine Light sect leader, Tuajin. Not to mention the fact that there were also the leaders of the Thousand-Year sect and the Tianwu sect who had attacked the Xianin sect. In just an hour, everything had been settled. Lord Dongwang, when I return, I will immediately bring 100,000 spirit stones to the Divine Light sect and let Tuajin pass it to you. The leader of the Tianwu sect, Yi Wen, led a group of people from the Tianwu sect and bowed to Zhou Dongwang. He said hurriedly, also, Lord Dongwang, if you have time in the future, you can come to the Tianwu sect as a guest. The Tianwu sect will treat you with the highest level of hospitality. Lord Dongwang, I will also send the spirit stones as soon as possible. Also, the Thousand-Year sect welcomes you anytime. The leader of the Thousand-Year sect said respectfully. The leaders of the two sects knew very well that in the battle at the Feast of Ziyun, the young man in white before them had become a god. This young man had the ability to dominate the entire Ziyun planet, and he was undoubtedly the most powerful person in the Ziyun planet. Such an existence could only be a friend, not an enemy. Yes, Zhou Dongwang nodded slightly at the two of them, and then looked at the leader of the Divine Light sect, Tua Jin. Leader Tua Jin, I will go back now to fetch him. After you go back, make some preparations. Yes, Lord Dongwang. As Tua Jin replied respectfully, the golden-crowned eagle flapped its wings and disappeared into the clouds with the siblings. Only when the golden-crowned eagle little golds figure disappeared into the clouds did the people of the three sects retract their respectful gazes. Sect leader Tua Jin, you're more familiar with Lord Dongwang. Is he really from Ziyun? After Zhou Dongwang left, Celestial Sect leader Yi Wen could not help but ask Tua Jin. In the 1,000-plus-year history of the Ziyun planet, this was the first time such a heaven-defying figure had appeared. He even wondered if the other party was from the Ziyun planet. The 1,000-year sect leader also looked at Tua Jin. It was obvious that he was also curious about this. Sect leader Yi, I know what you're thinking. Tua Jin sighed. But Lord Dongwang is indeed a citizen of Ziyun. Who would have thought that our Ziyun planet would have such a godly talent? The 1,000-year sect leader sighed. When the people who came to Xinyan City for the Feast of Ziyun go back and spread the news, it will not be long before the name Zhou Dongwang is known throughout the entire Ziyun planet. Yuan sighed. I can imagine that for a long time in the history of the Ziyun planet, his name will be remembered by everyone. In front of him, the few Dharma adepts in the history of the Ziyun planet will pale in comparison. They will not be able to compete with him. It was just as the celestial sect leader Yi Wen had said. In the short span of a few months, everywhere on the planet of Ziyun, except for those remote and desolate places like the 16 countries of the East Valley and the 14 countries of southern Jiang, people from other places had basically heard of the name Zhou Dongwang, which they had never heard of before. Zhou Dongwang, a late primal core adept that defied the laws of nature. Why was he said to be heaven-defying? He was only in his early 20s. He had instantly killed the Xianin sect's golden essence adept, Qi Ming, and he had even killed Xianin sect Dharma adept, Zhongya. He had single-handedly destroyed one of the 5 major sects of the Ziyun planet, the Xianin sect. Even if all the golden essence adepts of the 4 major sects of the Ziyun planet were combined, they would still be no match for him. Most importantly, he is still young and has unlimited potential. Zhou Dongwang will become a legendary figure in the history of the Ziyun planet. Lord Dongwang is the common goal of all the adepts of the Ziyun planet. In the entire Ziyun planet, whether it was the adepts who had seen Zhou Dongwang fight in Xinyan City, or the adepts who had only heard of Zhou Dongwang but had never seen him, they all regarded Zhou Dongwang as their life goal. There were also some adepts who had seen Zhou Dongwang in Xinyan City who carved statues of Zhou Dongwang based on their memories and placed them in their sects and families as a form of faith. Zhou Dongwang was naturally unaware of all this. After leaving the Xianin sect, he had brought his sister Yin Lu back to the Valley of the Medicine Masters and brought his mother and the rest to the Xinguang sect's base, Xinguang Peak. Su Mo, the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, immediately gave the order. The Valley of the Medicine Masters was dissolved. The Dongwang sect was established. His master, Zhou Dongwang, was the founder of the Dongwang sect and the first sect leader. He was the deputy sect leader and was responsible for managing the affairs of the Dongwang sect. After the Divine Light sect moved away from Xinguang Peak, Xinguang Peak became the base of the Dongwang sect and was renamed Dongwang Peak. The Xinguang Empire was renamed Dongwang Empire. As for the original base of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, it was not abandoned and became the base of the Dongwang sect. Lu Qinghu, the patriarch of the Lu family in Yunfeng Prefecture of the Western Shu Ridge of Yunyang, was the Dongwang sect leader. Announced to the various countries of the 16 countries of the East Valley that the Valley of the Medicine Masters is disbanded and the Dongwang sect is established. Make a book of the deeds of our Dongwang sect leader and send it to the various royal families of the 16 countries of the East Valley so that they could distribute it to every corner of the 16 countries of the East Valley. Following the orders of Lu Qinghu, It was not long before everyone in the 16 countries of the East Valley knew of Zhou Donghuang's deeds. They also knew that from now on, the master of the 16 countries of the East Valley was no longer the Valley of the Medicine Masters, but the Valley of the Medicine Masters. The Valley of the Medicine Masters had already been incorporated into the Donghuang sect. The former head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Su Imo, now served the Donghuang sect leader, Zhou Donghuang, as his master. I never thought that the legendary Primal Core adepts would be so common on our planet of Zun. The 5 great empires, the 5 great sects of Zun. I've never heard of them before. It turns out that our 16 countries of the East Valley is just a rural area on the planet of Zun. The 5 great empires are really something to look forward to. I never thought that one of the 5 great sects of Zun, the Xianin sect, would be destroyed by someone from our 16 countries of the East Valley. And that person is now the most powerful person on the planet of Ziyun. He single-handedly established the Donghuang sect, and even the head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters respects him as his master. He seems to be from the country of Yinyang. It is said that in the future, the Donghuang sect will come to the capital of the 16 countries of the East Valley to recruit disciples every year. The outstanding martial arts geniuses may even be sent to the main Donghuang sect. And the main Donghuang sect is very close to the Donghuang Empire. Year 1234 of the Ziyun era. For the people of the 16 countries of the East Valley, this year was destined to be unforgettable. This year, they learned of many things that they had never heard before. This year, they learned that an extraordinary person had emerged from the 16 countries of the East Valley, and now he was the Donghuang sect leader who controlled the nearby Donghuang Empire. Of course, the people who were most shocked by all this were the people of the country of Yinyang, one of the 16 countries of the East Valley. Zhou Donghuang. Is it really that Zhou Donghuang? It seems so. The members of the preeminent Lu family in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture under the western ridge of the Chu King have all been taken to the Donghuang sect, and the Lu family is on good terms with Zhou Donghuang. The head of the Lu family, Lu Qinghu, has always followed Zhou Donghuang's lead. A preeminent family has soared to the skies and is now above the royal families of the 16 countries of the East Valley. It is said that the Donghuang sect leader is Lu Qinghu. Moreover, it is said that Lu Qinghu is now a primal core adept. When a man achieves the Tao, his fowls and dogs follow him. In the Chu royal city of the western ridge of the Chu King, a group of senior members of the Chu royal household gathered together. As they spoke, they all smiled bitterly and sighed. Back then, if they had not become enemies with Zhou Donghuang and had instead been on good terms with him, perhaps they would also have soared to the skies now. Many members of the Tycoon Tang family, led by Tang Lianyin, were taken away by the people of the Donghuang sect a few days ago. There are also some members of the Grand Ren family who have been led by First Mistress Ren Jiape to the Donghuang sect. It is said that First Mistress Ren Jiape will be sent directly to the main Donghuang sect. This is normal. Not only is Ren Jiape on good terms with Yang Zishi, who is by Zhou Donghuang's side, but she is also on good terms with Zhou Donghuang himself. It is said that many members of the Yang family were so angry that they vomited blood. Who would have thought that the young Khanate stage of the past is now standing at the top of the Ziyun planet? Invincible. Qingshan Town. The Qin family household. Sister Xiaoyu, Uncle Zhen, Big Brother asked me to come and fetch you. A huge black eagle floated in the air above the front yard of the Qin family household, and on its back stood a little girl of about 8 or 9 years old. When she spoke, her voice seemed to contain some sort of magical power, and it instantly spread throughout the entire Qin family household. Very quickly, many people gathered in the front yard of the Qin family household. It's Miss Yinlu, young Master Donghuang's sister. She has personally come to fetch Xiaoyu and Elder Qingjun. Xiaoyu and Elder Qingjun are being taken to the main Donghuang sect. Now, even the people of Qingshan Town, which was a remote place, knew about Zhou Donghuang's deeds. There is even a statue of Zhou Donghuang standing at the side of the main entrance of Yinxian Restaurant in Qingshan Town, and a stone tablet beside the statue was carved with the various deeds of Zhou Donghuang after he had left Qingshan Town. End of this chapter. Chapter 208. Sometimes, a single choice could determine the course of a person's life. In the country of Yinyang, those who were on good terms with Zhou Dongwang would definitely rise to the Khanate stage, or even the primal core stage. But those who were on bad terms with Zhou Dongwang were all filled with regret. Just like now, seeing the young lady and the middle-aged man follow the little girl onto the back of the giant eagle and disappear into the clouds, the senior members of the lesser Qin family of Qinglin Town were filled with regret. Our Qin family has missed the chance to rise to the top. That year, if we had not stopped the old chief from taking Xiao Yu as his adopted daughter, the Qin family and young Master Dongwang would not have fallen out. I regret it. I regret it. Xiao Yu and Qin Zhen will definitely rise to the top, and we will only be able to look up to them in the future. It was not just the lesser Qin family of Qinglin Town who felt regret. There were many others who felt regret. For example, the preeminent Lin family of Yinfeng Prefecture. If the Lin family had not chased Lin Lan out of the family, Zhou Dongwang would have become a foreign disciple of the Lin family, and his relationship with the Lin family would have been much closer than with the Lu family. But because of a wrong decision by the Lin family, their relationship with Lin Lan was completely severed, and they had missed Zhou Dongwang. The Lu family has all gone to the Dongwang subsect, where the Dongwang subsect used to be in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. It is said that anyone from the Lu family with some talent has a chance to be sent to the main Dongwang subsect. For example, the son of the former chief of the Lu family, Lu Qinghu, Lu Yuan, has been sent to the main Dongwang subsect. I heard that Lu Qinghu is now a primal core adept. I remember that in the past, he was not even as strong as the chief of the Lin family. If the chief had not chased Lin Lan out of the family, he would already be a primal core adept. The position of chief of the Dongwang subsect would definitely belong to the chief as well. One wrong step, and everything else goes wrong. Oh my God, our Lin family has missed out on a great opportunity. Within the Lin family estate, the group of Lin family elders and disciples beat their chests and stamped their feet. They even secretly cursed the patriarch for being blind and causing the Lin family to miss such a good opportunity to rise to the top in a single bound. As for the chief of the Lin family, Lin Jiyue, he had been so angry that he had been bettered in after learning of Zhou Donghuang's achievements. Now, everyone in the capital city of Yinfeng Prefecture was laughing at Lin Jiyue, the head of the Lin family, for being so blind as to reject such a great opportunity. Ha ha ha! Chindanahai! Good kill! Good kill! The first young master of the Hong family, Hong Yunfei, had been chased out of the Valley of the Medicine Masters by Chun Dandan. After returning to the Hong family in the capital of Yinfeng Prefecture, he had shut himself into practice and rarely left the house. When he found out that Zhou Dongwang had killed Chun Dandan in Xinyan City, he was overjoyed and felt that his revenge had been avenged. Zhuiyue Zhous of the Lin Wu of Zhou of S Zhous of family, Hong Lin Wei's Lin of the Hongs of Yang Yang's Yuns with families. Hong Wei, the head of the Hong family, was filled with regret. Otherwise, even if I'm not doing as well as Lu Qinghu, I wouldn't be too far off. Now, he was just a mere chi-gathering adept, and Lu Qinghu was already a primal core adept. He had to look up to even a Khanate adept, much less a primal core adept. Father, I am preparing to participate in the assessment that the Dongwang subsect is organizing in Yunyang country this year. I want to pass the assessment and become a disciple of the Dongwang subsect. Hong Yunfei said to Hong Wei with a serious face, the current Dongwang subsect is even stronger than its predecessor, the Valley of the Medicine Masters. I want to fight to enter the Dongwang subsect. Of course, there was one more thing he did not say. He wanted to meet the legendary chief of the Dongwang sect, Zhou Dongwang, and thank him in person for killing Chun Dandan and indirectly avenging him. Zhou Dongwang. He actually has such achievements? In a Li family household, Li Rui's face was pale. She had never imagined that in just a few years, Zhou Dongwang would already be standing at the top of the Xian planet. Now, Zhou Dongwang was equivalent to the sky of the Ziyun planet. With just a word, he could decide the life and death of anyone in the Ziyun planet. This was the power of a king. The Dongwang Peak was now the base of the Dongwang sect. Of course, the Dongwang sect had not yet recruited disciples. The Divine Light sect had relocated, leaving not a single elder or disciple behind. Of course, this was also because Zhou Dongwang did not ask the Divine Light sect to stay. Otherwise, with just a word from him, the Divine Light sect would definitely keep whoever he wanted. Sister Jiapei, I know you like Brother Zhou too. In a quiet courtyard halfway up the Dongwang Peak, Yang Zishi was sitting with Ren Jiapei, who had just arrived at the Dongwang sect not long ago. She held Ren Jiapei's hand tightly as she confided in her heart. Sister Zishi, don't worry. I won't fight with you. Ren Jiapei forced a smile. Sister Jiapei, that's not what I meant. Yang Zishi shook her head. I just wanted to tell you that if you really like Brother Zhou, you don't have to worry about me. Because even in front of Brother Zhou, I am just a latecomer. Yang Zishi sighed. Big Brother Zhou already has someone in his heart. Ooh. Ren Jiapei's eyes narrowed. She had always felt that if Brother Zhou wanted to find a good match, Sister Zishi would be his first choice. But now, Sister Zishi was telling her, Brother Zhou already has someone he likes? I don't know either. I only know that she is not from the planet of Ziyun. I've asked Xiaolu, and she said, Brother Zhou's sweetheart was already a primal core adept at the age of 20. A 20-year-old primal core adept who is not from the planet of Ziyun must have an extraordinary background. Her future achievements will be limitless. I'm telling you all this mainly to tell you. If you really like Brother Zhou and don't mind him having more than one woman at the same time, you have to work hard and try to catch up to that sister. That's what I think too. That's the only way I can help Big Brother Zhou and even gain his approval. Yang Zishi had kept these words in her heart for a long time, and she only said them in front of Ren Jiapei. Ren Jiapei fell silent. After a while, Ren Jiapei's eyes shone with determination. Of course, even if we do this, we may not be able to be with Brother Zhou in the future. When it comes to relationships, it's about mutual affection. But I feel that since I like Brother Zhou, even if we can't be together in the end, I should do more for him and share his burdens. Yang Zishi paused, her eyes dazed with infatuation. To be able to see his gratified smile, I think it's worth it. In another secluded courtyard not far away, Lin Lan stood there, looking at Yang Zishi and Ren Jiapei from afar. She let out a long sigh. Such good girls. If only they could all be my daughters-in-law. Miss, young Master Dongwang has already grown up when it comes to relationships. Let nature take its course. Granny Lien stood behind Lin Lan and said with a smile, Sometimes I really don't know what that child Dongwang is thinking. Lin Lan shook her head. Forget it. Anyway, he's about to leave the Ziyun planet to do what he wants to do. If he establishes a relationship with these two girls before he leaves, it would be unfair to them. At least, from the looks of it now, even if Dongwang leaves, they won't have to suffer too much. As she spoke, Lin Lan raised her head and looked at the higher part of the Dongwang Peak. Dongwang should be done setting up those spells. When that time comes, he will also leave. In the depths of Lin Lan's eyes, there was a hint of reluctance to part. Of course, although she was reluctant, she had no intention of forcing her son to stay, because she knew that her son had his own path to follow. A 23-year-old golden essence adept. The Ziyun planet can't contain him. Lin Lan sighed softly. At the top of the Dongwang Peak, Zhou Dongwang, dressed in a robe whiter than snow, stood in the air. Using his finger as a brush, he gathered his golden inner yuan and drew all sorts of complicated patterns and lines on the cliff face. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. After carving for a while, he raised his hand, and spirit stones were inserted into some of the patterns as if they were free. He was setting up a protective spell for the Dongwang sect. This would be the first protective spell for the Ziyun planet. Whether it was the other four major sects of the Ziyun planet or the Xianin sect that Zhou Dongwang had destroyed, none of them had protective spells. In the boundless universe, protective spells were usually only available to sects that had adepts at the primordial soul stage and above. This was because protective spells required too many resources, and ordinary sects could not afford them at all. Even the protective spell that Zhou Dongwang was setting up now was made up of the weakest protective spell that he could remember. Otherwise, the resources that he had on hand would not have been enough to sustain the consumption of a protective spell. Defensive spells, as well as other spells, I don't want them all. I only want offensive spells. For the offensive spell, just the spirit stones that I've inserted are enough to activate it 3 times. Once the offensive spell is activated, even an early Dharma adept would not be able to escape death. If it is unexpected, it would be enough to seriously injure a mid-Dharma adept. This was also a trump card that Zhou Dongwang had left behind before he left. He would hand it over to his mother, Lin Lan, and his sister, Yin Lu. Done. Half a month later, Zhou Dongwang had successfully set up the spell. Of course, these few days he did not spend all his time setting up the spell, and the protective spell was not the only one he set up. There were also a few energy-gathering spells. During this time, Zhou Dongwang had been practicing. In his spare time, setting up the spell did not affect his practice. In the next 2 days, I'll spend time with Mother and Xiao Lu. After 2 days, I'll leave the Ziyun planet. It was late at night, and Zhou Dongwang looked up at the stars in the sky, his eyes filled with anticipation and excitement. He was finally going to leave the Ziyun planet. He was even more excited now than when he had left Earth in his previous life. End of this chapter. Chapter 209. While he was setting up the Dongwang Peak, Zhou Dongwang not only did not neglect his practice, but he also forged ultimate and superior spirit weapons for those close to him. At the same time, he also produced a large batch of core drugs. Of course, he also left some core drugs for his mother, Lin Lan. His mother, as a woman, was meticulous. Furthermore, she practiced the technique of everlasting youth, and after entering the primal core stage, she could produce a core fire that was very suitable for refining core drugs. Furthermore, from the fact that his mother liked to use some of the prescriptions he gave her to make medicine, it was clear that she was very interested in medicine and core drugs. Putting all these together, it was not difficult to see that his mother had the potential to become an outstanding core forging master. Dongwang, with your ability, if you stay on the Ziyun planet, I have nothing to worry about. But if you leave the Ziyun planet, it means that there are countless hidden dangers waiting for you, Lin Lan said to Zhou Dongwang with a serious expression. So, I only have one request for you. Be careful, Lin Lan said solemnly to Zhou Dongwang. Mother, don't worry. Zhou Dongwang smiled confidently. In his previous life, he had traveled the boundless universe alone for thousands of years before he had a strong level of practice that allowed him to stand at the top of the universe. With the experience of his previous life, the boundless universe was not unknown to him, and everything was a walk in the park for him. Brother, you have to come back soon, otherwise, I will miss you very, very much. Yin Lu looked at Zhou Dongwang reluctantly. After so many years together, she had long regarded the young man before her as her own brother. All right, I will listen to you. Zhou Dongwang smiled dotingly. Because he had already made all the necessary preparations before he left, he spent the entire day with his mother and sister Yin Lu. He told Yin Lu stories and taught Lin Lan how to activate the Great Guardian Shield formation. At the same time, Zhou Dongwang also passed on some of the core drugs he had already written down to Lin Lan, so that she would not have to take the wrong path when she entered the primal core stage. Dongwang, tomorrow, spend some time with Zishi and Jiape. They're staying together. When you want to leave, just let me know. Late at night, before Zhou Dongwang returned to his residence, Lin Lan said to him. Zhou Dongwang was stunned at first, then he nodded. Yeah. Yin Lu nodded in agreement. Big brother, Sister Zishi and Sister Jiape really like you. If you leave without spending some time with them, they will be very sad. You're just a little kid, but you're full of mischief. After glaring at Yin Lu, Zhou Dongwang left. After returning to his room, Zhou Dongwang sat cross-legged on his bed and examined his elixir field. Now, in Zhou Dongwang's elixir field, for primal cores floated there, 2 of which were silver in color, and silver inner yuan flowed around them. The other 2 yuan dan were golden in color, surrounded by golden quintessential essence. Now, the two silver cores were suspended in the air, motionless. The silver true essence around them did not disperse, but it did not extend outwards. The two golden essences continued to revolve. Even though Zhou Dongwang was not deliberately practicing, they were still circulating their qi according to the Lord of the Four Supremes, absorbing spirit energy from the outside world as they practiced. Of course, the efficiency was not as high as when he cultivated on purpose. And this was the privilege of adepts of the ultimate primal core stage and above. Even if he did not deliberately practice, the golden essences in his elixir field would still cultivate on their own. However, because it was self-cultivation, the two golden essences only strengthened themselves and did not help the other two silver essences to cultivate. The cultivation of the two silver essences still depended on Zhou Donghuang himself. The most important thing now is to cultivate the two silver essences into golden essences. Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. Now, almost a year had passed since the Feast of Ziyun was held in Xinyan City. At that time, Zhou Donghuang's elixir field had 3 silver essences and 1 solid essence. In almost a year, with the help of the rare herbs that the Xianin sect had accumulated over the years, Zhou Donghuang's level of practice had increased by leaps and bounds. Not only had the solid essence transformed into a silver essence, but 2 of the other 3 silver essences had also transformed into golden essences. With my current ability, even if the Xianin sect Elder Zhong had refined his dharma to the point where it was flawless, I would still be able to crush him with the ultimate primal core spirit weapon. Zhou Donghuang's current ability was completely different from what it had been a year ago. Tomorrow, I will have to face Zixi again, and Jiapei. Thinking of Lin Lan's instructions, Zhou Donghuang felt a headache coming on. At the same time, he could not help but think of the girl named Luo Qinghan, whom he had accidentally had sex with in the past. In the past, I always thought that I liked her. But as time passed, until now, that strange feeling towards her seems to have faded quite a bit. Come to think of it, I don't understand her, and she doesn't understand me either. So how could I like her? But I still have to take responsibility. Regardless of whether she needs me to take responsibility or not, she is still my woman. This is a fact that has already been set in stone. Also, the women that I, Zhou Donghuang, have slept with, I will not allow any other man to touch them. As he thought of this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes suddenly shone with a cold light, which he only retracted after a while. Although I don't have any actual feelings for her now, but feelings can be slowly cultivated. The next day, Zhou Donghuang followed his mother's instructions and went to look for Yang Zixi and Ren Jiapei. Perhaps because they knew that Zhou Donghuang was about to leave, Yang Zixi and Ren Jiapei did not bring up any sensitive topics. Big brother Zhou, don't worry. After you leave Ziyun, I will help you take good care of Aunt Lan and Xiao Lu. Yang Zixi said with a smile. Thank you. Zhou Donghuang smiled in thanks. Big brother Zhou, we will wait for you to come back. Ren Jiapei could not hide the strange emotions in her eyes. In the evening, Zhou Donghuang said goodbye to Yang Zixi and Ren Jiapei, then went to see Fu, Freezing Wind, Zhou Han, and Zhou Feng. After giving them some instructions and passing them the follow-up techniques, Zhou Donghuang gave them pointers for the entire night. It was not until the wee hours that Zhou Donghuang returned. I will leave tomorrow. Before returning, Zhou Donghuang told Fu and the rest. Practice well. I hope that the next time I return, you will all have entered the Dharma stage. As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, Fu and the rest immediately realized that their young master would be away for a long time. Of course, Zhou Donghuang's expectations of them were not high. Within 10 years, he would definitely be back. With the energy-gathering matrix that he had set up on the Donghuang Peak, Fu and the rest practice speed would not be slow. As long as they did not slack off, they would definitely enter the Dharma stage within 10 years. The next day, as Zhou Donghuang prepared to leave, everyone who was on the Donghuang Peak came out to send him off. Lin Lan, Yin Lu, Yang Zixi, Ren Jiapei, Fu, Freezing Wind, Zhou Han, Zhou Feng, Qin Xiaoyu, Qin Zhen. The golden-crowned eagles, Big Gold and Little Gold, were also there. Big Brother Dongwang, Xiaoyu will wait for you to return. Qin Xiaoyu said to Zhou Donghuang with red eyes, her tone full of reluctance. Now, Qin Xiaoyu was no longer the little girl of the past. She had grown up, and the childishness in her beautiful cheeks was almost gone. Unlike Yin Lu, who had maintained the appearance of an 8 or 9-year-old girl. I will return within 10 years. High up in the sky, Zhou Dongwang stood with his hands behind his back and nodded to the crowd. Then, with a flash of his body, a golden flame seemed to ignite around him. In the next moment, he transformed into a bolt of golden lightning and shot into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. Wah! Yin Lu, who had been holding back her tears sensibly, could no longer hold it in as she watched her brother leave. She threw herself into Lin Lan's arms and cried loudly. Whether it was Lin Lan, Yang Zishi, or Run Jiape, tears streamed down their faces as well. Obviously, in order to let Zhou Dongwang leave in peace, they had been holding it in. Xiaoyu, don't cry. Qin Jun comforted his daughter. Didn't your brother Dongwang say? He will return within 10 years. 10 years. Without attaining the primal core stage, a person's life would only last 10 years. This time, Zhou Dongwang did not bring anyone with him. He did not even bring the golden-crowned eagles, Big Gold and Little Gold, leaving them to guard the Dongwang sect. There are only a few people in the Dongwang sect now, and they do not live up to their name. However, the next time I return, I believe that they will have already developed the Dongwang sect. Before he left this time, Zhou Dongwang not only set up an energy-gathering formation for the residents of Lin Lan and the rest, but he also set up other formations in other parts of the Dongwang Peak. Of course, there were good and bad ones among these formations. However, even the best of these formations were much worse than the one that covered the residents of Lin Lan and the rest. These were all prepared by him for the future disciples of the Dongwang sect. In my memory, there are no teleportation portals on any of the planets in the galaxy where the Ziyun planet is located. Let's find the nearest teleportation portal first. Zhou Dongwang raised his hand, and an azure ball the size of a baby's fist appeared in his hand. It could also be called a pearl, and it was the energy-seeking pearl that Zhou Dongwang had made. The function of the energy-seeking pearl was to find the nearest teleportation portal. The spell that was set up inside, it would resonate with the nearby teleportation portals. The production of the energy-seeking pearl was very simple. As long as one knew how to set up the spell, even an early primal core craftsman could make it. As for the materials, they could use anything as long as it could withstand the spell needed to make the energy-seeking pearl. Of course, on the Xian planet, there was a high chance that no one knew how to make the energy-seeking pearl. This was because on the Ziyun planet, there was not a single true craftsman. In Zhou Donghuang's eyes, a true craftsman had to at least be able to make inferior primal core spirit weapons, and not be able to make things like sword spheres and space rings. Whoosh! After Zhou Donghuang injected his inner yuan into the energy-seeking pearl, it immediately flew into the air and sped off in a certain direction. Zhou Donghuang followed closely. After we reached the teleportation array, where should we go next? Zhou Donghuang racked his brains as he followed the energy-seeking pearl, searching through the memories of his previous life. It is now year 1234 of the Ziyun era. At this time of my previous life, I was still on Earth. End of this chapter. Chapter 210. In my previous life, although I met them on Earth, other than helping them and interfering with their lives, my previous encounters did not affect their lives at all. Zhou Donghuang kept the form-seeking pearl and sped off in the direction indicated by the pearl. He planned to leave the Ziyun planet and head to another galaxy. In this life, although I did not appear on Earth earlier and did not meet them again, their lives will definitely follow their original path if nothing unexpected happens. Among them, the earliest incident will happen about 10 years later. As such, I'm not in a hurry to go to Earth for now. When I return to the Ziyun planet, I will go to Earth and help them solve their problems. Very quickly, Zhou Donghuang made up his mind. However, before I reach a planet with a teleporter, I still need to consider where to go. There is no need to go to an unknown place. is risky and full of uncertainties. In this life, my greatest advantage is the 1,000 years of memories from my previous life. Zhou Dongwang was not an inflexible person. With 1,000 years of memories from his previous life, he naturally would not take the wrong path in the name of training in this life. Whichever path was easier to walk on, he would take it. If there was a shortcut to take, and it was a safer shortcut, he would be a fool not to take it. Think about it. After I left Earth in my previous life, I heard about some places where relics of the strong appeared or where treasures were born. As Zhou Dongwang hurried along, he searched through the memories of his previous life. There were too many memories from his previous life, especially from the time after he left Earth. If he did not actively recall them, he would not be able to recall them. The memories from the last few hundred years of his previous life were more clear. Furthermore, in those memories, there were many details about the ancient relics and the relics of the strong that he could reach before anyone else. However, those pieces of information were of no use to him now. This was because, with his current ability, even if he knew where the relics were and what treasures were born, he would not be able to obtain the items in the relics. He would not be able to obtain the treasures. Without diamonds, one would not be able to do it. Zhou Dongwang had always stuck to this principle. Got it. Let's go to the Honglong planet of the Tiamat galaxy first. A memory flashed through Zhou Dongwang's mind, causing his eyes to light up. Heavenly Horse Galaxy, Great Dragon Planet. That was also one of the planets he had visited in his previous life after he had left Earth. At that time, someone had obtained a relic left behind by a Dharma Peak adept on the Honglong planet. It was said that the Dharma Peak adept was a lone practitioner. When he was about to die of old age, he set up a spell to hide his tracks, waiting for the fated person to collect his belongings. Eventually, that place was discovered by a few disciples of a large sect on the Great Dragon Planet, and the relics of the Dharma Peak adept were also obtained by that sect. That incident had spread like wildfire on the Great Dragon Planet. Basically, everyone on the Great Dragon Planet knew about it, as long as they weren't particularly uninformed. I think it's in the demonic beast mountain range north of the Great Dragon Star Sky Sword sect. I can't remember the name of the demonic beast mountain range. However, that place is the place where the younger generation disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect and some of the surrounding forces train. And when we reach the Grand Dragon Star, we just need to find the Sky Sword sect's encampment. As he thought about this, Zhou Dongwang felt much more assured. In my previous life, I only found out about this about 130 years later. However, at that time, the Sky Sword sect spread the news that the Dharma Peak adept had already died of old age 200 years ago. That means that Dharma Peak adept had already died of old age 70 years ago. Now, his relics are already there. Although I don't know exactly where it is in the demonic beast mountain range, since it's there, I'm sure I'll be able to find it if I look carefully. Zhou Dongwang was very confident about this. I hope that the teleporter that the energy-seeking pearl will lead me to is in the galaxy next to where the Xian planet is. Otherwise, I'll have to travel to other galaxies, and that'll take a long time. Zhou Dongwang prayed silently. In his previous life, Zhou Dongwang had been brought to Earth by the crazy Taoist, and they had traveled through space. And the galaxy where Earth was located was next to where the Xian planet was. Of course, it was not in the direction that Zhou Dongwang was heading to now. Now, Zhou Dongwang was heading to another galaxy. There were no teleporters in the galaxy where the Xian planet was located. This meant that anyone who wanted to come to the Xian planet would either have to rely on random teleporters, or they could only teleport to a nearby galaxy and cross the galaxy physically. Apart from these two methods, there was no other way. On the other hand, the galaxy where Earth was located had a teleporter, and it was on Earth. And it was not just one. There were 9 of them. Whoosh! Guided by the energy-seeking pearl, Zhou Dongwang traveled at full speed. The golden flames around his body surged, and his entire person seemed to have transformed into a golden meteor flying through space. A month later, Zhou Dongwang finally crossed to another galaxy physically. And this was because the Xian planet was relatively close to this galaxy. If he had gone to Earth, it would have taken at least 3 months for Zhou Dongwang to enter the galaxy where Earth was located. When he left the Ziyun planet, the spirit energy in the air had already become thinner, and the further he went from the Ziyun planet, the thinner the spirit weapons became. Along the way, Zhou Dongwang relied on spirit stones to replenish the inner yuan in his body to support the journey. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months had passed. I haven't even seen the planet, but the spirit energy has already become so thick. Looks like the teleporter that the energy-seeking pearl is taking me to is on the planet ahead. After traveling for 2 months in another galaxy, Zhou Dongwang felt that the spirit energy in the sky had suddenly become thicker, and the further he went, the thicker the spirit energy became. In these 2 months, Zhou Dongwang had passed by 3 planets in this galaxy, but these 3 planets did not have spirit energy, and there were obviously no spirit stone veins on them. They were all uninhabited planets, and the various environments were not suitable for the survival of ordinary life. I see it. 10 days later, a planet appeared before Zhou Dongwang's eyes. Not only was it bigger than Earth, it was even much bigger than the Ziyun planet. However, it was not as good-looking as the Ziyun planet, let alone compare to Earth. Earth was the most beautiful planet that Zhou Dongwang had ever seen in his 2 lives. It was the most beautiful planet he had ever seen. What a thick spirit energy. 3 days later, Zhou Dongwang followed the guidance of the energy-seeking pearl and arrived at the sky where the teleport of the planet was located. He passed through the clouds and slowly descended. The spirit energy on this planet was much thicker than that of the Ziyun planet. The environment of the Ziyun planet makes it difficult for even Dharma adepts to be born. But on this planet, not just Dharma adepts, even primordial soul adepts can be born. After deeply feeling the spirit energy on this planet, it was not difficult for Zhou Dongwang to confirm this point. Of course, only planets that had given birth to primordial soul adepts, or planets that had once been visited by primordial soul adepts, could possibly have a teleporter. The inscription of a teleporter was not complicated, nor was it difficult, but there was a requirement for one's level of practice. One had to be a primordial soul adept or above to be able to inscribe it. I've arrived. Very quickly, Zhou Dongwang, who had followed the guidance of the energy-seeking pearl, discovered the location of the teleporter. It was located in a desert. In the boundless desert, there was a stone platform that occupied a vast area. On the stone platform, there were 9 areas, and each area was inscribed with extremely deep patterns, and they were all exactly the same. In addition, at the 4 corners of the stone platform, there were 4 huge stone pillars. These 4 stone pillars would require at least 10 adults holding hands to encircle them. They were at least 100 feet tall and looked majestic, and they were also inscribed with deep patterns. This was a standard interstellar teleportation array. Under the main teleporter, there were 9 subsidiary teleporters, which could simultaneously transport 9 batches of people across planets and galaxies. In addition, on each of the 4 stone pillars of the galaxy teleporter, there were 3 lines of words. Akiyama Galaxy. Planet Hiyu. The Wilderness North. Obviously, this planet was called Planet Hiyu, and this was a part of the planet known as the Wilderness North, and the galaxy where Planet Hiyu was located was called the Akiyama Galaxy. The 3 lines of words inscribed on the pillars could be said to be the coordinates of this teleporter in the boundless universe. From other galaxies and planets, one could use the teleporter to teleport to this place. Someone's here. Just as he arrived above the stone platform, Zhou Dongwang seemed to have discovered something. His eyebrows raised, and his gaze focused on one of the stone pillars. I've been discovered. The target is a golden essence adept. Get out. 3 voices rang out simultaneously from behind the stone pillars, and 3 figures shrouded in golden flames appeared from behind the stone pillars. In a blink of an eye, they surrounded Zhou Dongwang. If you don't want to die, scram. Faced with the 3 golden essence adepts surrounding him, Zhou Dongwang's expression was calm, but his eyes flashed coldly as he shouted impatiently. These 3 golden essence adepts were obviously lying in ambush beside the galaxy teleporter, waiting for an opportunity to use the teleporter to other places or to rob adepts who had used the teleporter to come here. Only primal core adepts and above could use the galaxy teleporter. Because of this, regardless of whether it was the person being teleported or the person being teleported, they would not be weak. Waiting here, if they met someone weaker than them, and if they met someone stronger than them, they would hide. Zhou Dongwang had met many people like this in his previous life. Of course, he had only met such people on planets where primordial soul adepts were rare. This was because on planets where primordial soul adepts and even stronger adepts were as common as the clouds, it was basically impossible to meet such people because no one dared to take the risk. For adepts of the Dharma stage and above, unless they fought, it was very difficult to determine their actual level of practice, unless a primordial soul adept used his divine will to investigate. However, primordial soul adepts did not even deign to wait around the galaxy teleporter to rob passersby. End of chapter. Chapter 211. Upon hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the 3 golden essence adepts who had surrounded him were stunned. After a while, they regained their composure and looked at each other. They could not help but burst out laughing. Haha, I'm dying of laughter. A mere golden core cultivator actually dares to challenge us? Does he think he's a Dharma adept? What a joke! The 3 golden essence adepts looked at Zhou Donghuang mockingly. Each of them had a weapon in their hands, 2 knives and 1 sword. Their golden inner yuan was infused into the weapons, and they shone brightly. 3 superior-grade spirit weapons? Zhou Donghuang raised an eyebrow. He had not expected that these 3 golden essence adepts who had come out to rob him would all have superior-grade spirit weapons. Superior-grade spirit weapons could increase the power of inner yuan by 60%. On the planet of Ziyun, due to the limited resources available, Zhou Donghuang could not give each of his men an ultimate spirit weapon. Most of them only had superior-grade spirit weapons. That's true. This planet might even have primordial soul adepts. This planet is not something that the planet of Ziyun can compare to. Any random golden essence adept would have a superior-grade spirit weapon. After thinking this through, Zhou Donghuang felt at ease. Since none of you wish to leave, then stay, Zhou Donghuang said calmly. In his right hand, the spirit weapon, the folding fan, was in his hand. As his golden inner yuan was infused into it, the golden flames surged. An ultimate spirit weapon, unlike the narrow-minded golden essence adepts of the planet of Ziyun. The 3 golden essence adepts surrounding Zhou Donghuang immediately recognized that the spirit weapon in Zhou Donghuang's hand was an ultimate spirit weapon. On planet Hiyu, there were craftsmen who could forge Dharma spirit weapons, not to mention primordial core spirit weapons. However, even a craftsman who could forge a Dharma spirit weapon might not be able to forge an ultimate spirit weapon. This was because ultimate spirit weapons were extremely difficult to forge. The inscriptions on an ultimate spirit weapon were extremely complicated, at least 10 times more complicated than the inscriptions on a superior-grade spirit weapon. On planet Hiyu, the number of weapon forgers who could produce ultimate spirit weapons were few and far between. Furthermore, the chances of them producing ultimate spirit weapons were extremely low. Because of this, the ultimate primal core spirit weapons of planet Hiyu were usually in the hands of the disciples of the great clans. It's an ultimate spirit weapon. I'm rich. I'm rich. I really didn't expect it to be a fat sheep. Kill him. The ultimate primal core spirit weapon is ours. The eyes of the 3 golden essence adepts shone with greed, and they attacked almost at the same time. 2 knives and 1 sword, with a sharp golden glow, flew towards Zhou Donghuang like 3 beams of light. Is it not good to be alive? Faced with the combined attack of 3 golden essence adepts, Zhou Donghuang shook his head and sighed. Then, the golden light on his body intensified, instantly doubling in strength. At the same time, the true core energy on the folding fan in his hand instantly doubled. The inner yuan of the 2 golden elixirs in Zhou Donghuang's elixir field fused perfectly and roared out at the same time. After being amplified by the ultimate spirit weapon, the surrounding air seemed to stagnate. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang moved towards one of the knife-wielding golden essence adepts. His speed was more than double that of his opponent, and in the blink of an eye, he brushed past him. Whoosh! A brilliant golden light flashed past, and the golden essence adept's head flew into the sky. Whoosh! Just as the other two golden essence adepts regained their senses and their expressions changed, another golden essence adept's head flew into the air. Only the last golden essence adept was left trembling. What kind of monster is this? His inner yuan is more than double that of ours. How can there be such a huge difference? What kind of person is he? Is he really human? Whoosh! The last golden essence adept followed in the footsteps of his two companions, and with a flash of blood, his head flew into the sky. Thump! 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 3 heads fell to the ground in less than a breath's time. Before this, Zhou Dongwang had already collected their spirit weapons and space rings. The quality of these 3 spirit weapons is not bad. It's a pity that the craftsman's skills are too poor. If I reforge them, I can make them into ultimate primal core spirit weapons, said Zhou Dongwang. And these 3 space rings are made of space stones that are better than the ones in my space ring. If I reforge them, the space inside will be larger. Indeed, this planet has mid-quality spirit stones. In the spatial rings left behind by the 3 golden core cultivators, there was a considerable amount of spirit stones, and there was no lack of mid-grade spirit stones. Normally, unless a mere golden core cultivator came from an extraordinary background, it was impossible for them to have so much wealth. In the boundless universe, the value of 1 mid-quality spirit stone was equivalent to the total value of 10 inferior quality spirit stones. The 3 golden essence adepts were all robbers, and although they did not have much background, they had always been lucky, and so they were quite wealthy. It was a pity that they had met Zhou Dongwang. The current Zhou Dongwang, with his primal core stage inner yuan, the 1,000 years of battle experience from his past life, and the ultimate primal core spirit weapon. Even in the entire universe, there was almost no one below the Dharma stage who could match him. Of course, almost. The universe was too big, and there were many races in the universe. Among them, there were many races that were born with powerful bodies and incredible combat abilities. Zhou Dongwang himself was just one of the more mediocre humans in the universe. Of course, in the entire universe, humans made up more than 80% of the population. Next were beasts, who made up about 10%. The remaining 10% were other life forms. Time to go. After Zhou Dongwang collected his spoils of war, he leaped onto the stone platform and landed on one of the submatrices of the galaxy teleporter. At the same time, Zhou Dongwang threw 10 mid-quality spirit stones into a rectangle in front of him. The rectangle was very large, and it could hold hundreds of spirit stones. As the 10 mid-quality spirit stones entered the rectangle, an invisible force enveloped Zhou Dongwang. At this time, Zhou Dongwang began to recite the name of his destination. Tiamat Galaxy, Honglong Planet, Sky Sword Sect. Using the galaxy teleporter would require different amounts of spirit stones for adepts of different levels. For primal core adepts, if they wanted to use the same galaxy teleporter, they would only need 1 mid-quality spirit stone or 10 inferior quality spirit stones. If they wanted to use the galaxy teleporter, they would need 10 mid-quality spirit stones or 100 inferior quality spirit stones. For Dharma adepts to use the galaxy teleporter, they would need to pay 10 times the price of a primal core adept to use the galaxy teleporter, 10 mid-quality spirit stones, or 1 superior quality spirit stone. At this time, one could use 100 inferior quality spirit stones to use the galaxy teleporter. If they wanted to use the galaxy teleporter, they would need 100 mid-quality spirit stones, or 10 superior quality spirit stones, or 1 ultimate spirit stone. At this time, no amount of inferior quality spirit stones would be of any use. This was because the galaxy teleporter could only hold 100 spirit stones, and that was the upper limit. And for primordial soul adepts to use the galaxy teleporter, they would need to pay 10 times the price of a Dharma adept. In the future, it would be the same. For example, in Zhou Dongwang's previous life, when he was a heavenly adept, even if he wanted to use the galaxy teleporter to travel between planets, it would still require 100 ultimate spirit stones. Whoosh! Whoosh! Almost as soon as Zhou Dongwang finished reciting his destination, the inscriptions beneath his feet suddenly lit up, and the inscriptions on the 4 stone pillars around him also lit up. In the next moment, Zhou Dongwang's entire body was enveloped by the light, and his body was completely submerged. After a while, when the light dissipated, Zhou Dongwang was nowhere to be seen, as if he had disappeared into thin air. At the same time, the stone platform and stone pillars of the Galaxy Teleporter also returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. To Zhou Dongwang, when he was enveloped by the power of the Galaxy Teleporter, his vision went black and then bright, and he saw another Galaxy Teleporter. In fact, this Galaxy Teleporter was almost exactly the same as the one he had seen before. However, because the location was different, Zhou Dongwang was certain that it was another Galaxy Teleporter, and the inscriptions on the 4 stone pillars around the Galaxy Teleporter were also different. Tiamat Galaxy, Honglong Planet, Sky Sword Sect. Obviously, he had reached his destination. This was the Honglong Planet of the Tiamat Galaxy. Of course, although the coordinates of this Galaxy Teleporter were for the Sky Sword Sect, it was definitely near the base of the Sky Sword Sect, and not inside the base. Otherwise, wouldn't anyone be able to directly teleport into the base of the Sky Sword Sect? This Galaxy Teleporter was most likely set up by the primordial soul adepts of the Sky Sword Sect to make it convenient for the people of the Sky Sword Sect to travel between the various galaxies and planets. That is the Sky Sword Sect. This Galaxy Teleporter was located in the middle of a mountain forest. Zhou Dongwang looked at a few perilous peaks not far away, and according to his memory, he remembered that this was the base of the Sky Sword Sect. Now, let's go to the north of the base of the Sky Sword Sect, to the Demon Forest, and look for the relics left behind by the Dharma Peak Adept. Zhou Dongwang rose into the air and headed north of the Sky Sword Sect. On the way, Zhou Dongwang's attention was involuntarily focused on the Galaxy Teleporter. Although the Galaxy Teleporter is not difficult to carve, as long as one is a primordial soul adept and above and has seen the formation patterns and diagrams, one could set it up. But if one really delves into it, it involves space teleportation. Space teleportation. Not to mention me, who is a Deva adept in my previous life, even the deity tribulation adepts, who are above the Deva adepts, would not be able to do it. Behind the Galaxy Teleporter, I feel like there is a shadow of the legendary Divine Realm. It is as if there was a powerful person from the Divine Realm who set up the rules in the boundless universe, so that anyone who is above the Primal Core stage can use the Galaxy Teleporter created by those who are above the Primordial Soul stage. As for where the inscriptions and diagrams of the Galaxy Teleporter came from, there's no way to trace it back. If we really want to trace it back, we can definitely trace it back to ancient times, or even earlier. End of this chapter.